A human life spans only 100 years. So, do you believe in eternal love that transcends this life and the next? If you are intrigued by the fate of past lives, then follow this story. At the National Museum, a young actress prepares for her upcoming role. She stumbles upon a gold-plated incense burner. With a casual prayer, the wheels of fate begin to turn. Ansamiro, a young man with the blood of gods, trapped within the incense burner, awakens once more. After countless lifetimes, is the bond between them truly strong? And is there a hidden conspiracy behind their story? Let's discover it together. In the summer of 660 AD, by the Bekma River, during the 20th year of King Yuja's reign, a talented dancer approached the capital of Beekch. In the forest near the capital, soldiers' shouts and bloodstains on the ground marked a chase. The one fleeing, pursued by the soldiers, was a girl named Ari with long black hair. Despite her struggles, her beauty remained unhidden. She clutched her injured arm and kept running from the soldiers. The man chasing her, along with the soldiers, was Ari's brother. As he pursued, he incessantly questioned why she would do such a thing. "I am your brother, stop right now," he shouted. His voice, filled with anger and confusion, echoed. "They say you took the incense burner and fled, right?" Upon hearing her brother mention the incense burner, Ari turned with a resentful and determined look. Her brother just wanted to confirm the truth. At that moment, Ari was cornered at a cliff by the raging river. Hearing her brother's interrogation, she felt annoyed but remained silent, not answering. After a while, Ari gritted her teeth and nodded. "Yes, I hid the incense burner, just as they said." Her brother appeared stunned and disbelieving at her confirmation. But he quickly regained his worried composure, eager to know where Ari had hidden the incense burner. Of course, things were not easy. Ari immediately shook her head, refusing to reveal the location, saying she couldn't disclose it. "The enemy is approaching," her brother yelled angrily, "you won't be able to atone for this." Tears welled up in Ari's eyes as she looked at her brother and spoke with a tone of reproach. "Why haven't you realized it yet? He is a sacred being, uninvolved in our conflict," she said. As tears rolled down her beautiful cheeks, even the soldiers and her brother were utterly shocked. In panic, they asked, "Even if it means the fall of Beekch?" Now, Ari stood before a choice, the incense burner or the fate of her nation. But perhaps Ari had made her choice long ago. Tears streamed down her face, but she resolutely said, "If that is Beekch's destiny, then let it unfold." Making this decision pained Ari deeply, but she saw no alternative. Her brother's hands trembled with rage, holding his sword as he heard her irresponsible words. "You fool, how dare you call yourself the princess of this kingdom? Yet you abandon everything?" He warned, "There's no more time. If you don't hand it over, we won't let you go." Both her brother and the surrounding soldiers pleaded for the incense burner. Her brother worried about the nation's fate, while Ari cried out, "Brother, please don't stain your hands with more sins." Her words left her brother and the soldiers stunned into silence. At this moment, Ari seemed a bit hesitant but gradually retreated towards the cliff. She said that she would bear the punishment herself for abandoning the country before anyone could react. Ari then threw herself off the high cliff amid the soldiers' panic screams. Seeing his sister commit suicide, her brother was completely stunned, frozen in place. The sword in his hand, which he had held all along, also fell straight to the ground. His brother's anguished scream rang out, "Ari." As for the girl, at the moment she let herself fall freely, she silently apologized to everyone. Tears streamed down her frail face. Ari silently apologized and glanced back towards the top of the cliff, where her brother's worried shouts and desperate cries were coming from. The once strong and tough brother could no longer hold back his tears at his sister's departure. "Ari, you can't." His sorrowful cry echoed over the cliff, but it was too late as Ari plunged straight into the rushing river below. Gradually engulfed by the deep waters, Ari's faint remaining consciousness was overwhelmed by feelings of guilt. "But I must protect him," she told herself. Ari resolved that she had to protect him, even if it meant abandoning her family and country. No matter what happens, she must protect him, protect Ansamiro. In her final moments, the image of that man resurfaced in Ari's mind. He was a young man with divine beauty, like a pure flower in the human world, whom Ari had loved. "Ansamiro, I will protect you, Ansamiro," she vowed. Time passed, and the scene shifted to December 12, 1993. At the excavation site of the Nungsanri ancient tombs and Beekch Na Castle, two archaeologists were digging when they unearthed something intriguing and valuable. "I think I found something," one man said. He gazed at the object emerging from the ground and thought about how the manager had instructed them to report any unusual findings immediately. He quickly and carefully brushed away the layer of soil, gradually revealing the shape of the object. At the same time, in a city with clear skies and white clouds, the cry of a woman echoed through a city hospital. Her husband stood beside her. The labor pains were intensifying, signaling the imminent birth of their child, although it was still too early before the due date. Seeing his wife in such pain, the husband could do nothing more than offer comfort. "Hang in there a little longer, my love." The pain grew more intense, as if tearing her body apart, making the woman scream involuntarily. She was swiftly placed on a hospital bed by nurses and doctors. The contractions were speeding up, and being her first pregnancy, it was not easy at all. "She will be okay, right?" the husband asked anxiously. The nurse replied, "Please don't worry. This is her first time, but it's progressing faster than expected. We've taken her to the maternity ward. Please wait outside." The man's insides were burning with anxiety. His mind was torn between concern for his wife and excitement for the baby about to be born. The sky was clear, and the wheels of fate began to turn. Back at the archaeological site, the two men continued to carefully excavate what they had found. It seemed quite special, like a piece of precious metal. Gradually, the round, pale orange object was revealed under the sunlight. Whatever it was made of, it glistened and reflected the sun's rays beautifully and mysteriously. The archaeologists were astonished when they saw the entire shape of the object. "Ah, this is," they stammered. Just as the mysterious object was exposed under the sunlight at the excavation site, the cry of a newborn baby echoed in the hospital. "Where is the guardian of Seo Eun-ha?" the announcement came. "Congratulations, it's a lovely baby girl weighing 3.1 kilograms. The baby girl, just born and cradled in the doctor's arms, cried loudly yet was undeniably adorable and charming. She looked a bit different from typical newborns. The moment I've been waiting for has come true," someone murmured. A sacred moment of reunion. The archaeologists had finished excavating the strange object and brought it back to headquarters. Everyone there was astonished at its true form. It looked like an incense burner, but its design was quite strange and mysterious, leaving a lasting impression at first sight. "Oh my gosh, I have never seen anything like this before on this earth." Time flew by since the girl's birth, and now it was the year 2019 in Seoul. "Yes, I got the message saying I passed the first round. The second round is an audition. They said the audition will be in Gyeongju." "What? Of course, I have to go." "What do you mean? Don't be unreasonable." A girl's complaining voice echoed. "Of course, Mom, the top actress of 2019, Jin Hae-ri, who beat 500 to 1 odds and won the audition for a special drama in Gyeongju." The promising actress Jin Hae-ri appeared like a comet. "What? Mom, don't you find it funny when I say that?" She seemed embarrassed by her mother's response. "But this time it's different. I have a really good feeling about it, Mom. So, pay for my bus fare, please?" Her voice turned pleading. "I have some income from my part-time job, but I need extra for the room rent. Just 100,000 won, okay?" "What? You're charging me interest," she exclaimed. Yes, I understand, Mom." Jin Hae-ri sighed, borrowing 100,000 won and having to pay 5,000 won in interest. "Isn't that too high? Am I a biological child or a stray?" Due to her limited funds, Jin Hae-ri hesitated but eventually opted to take the bus. After booking the ticket, the audition day came quickly. Jin Hae-ri had to sit on the cramped bus with a carton of soy milk in her hand. She chatted with someone and sighed tiredly. At this moment, she was quite hungry. Although she was on a diet, she couldn't bear the hunger. Maybe the other actors are comfortably riding in private cars with their managers heading to the interview, Jin Hae-ri thought while drinking her soy milk. She recalled the mocking remarks from previous interviewers. They had unfairly labeled her as a fame seeker with no acting talent, just an imitator without the qualities of a celebrity. Remembering those harsh words, Jin Hae-ri felt a bit angry and silently vowed, "Just wait and see. They said if I felt wronged, I should succeed. I will definitely become famous someday. She must succeed on this path." The bus speeds along the national highway, and the sky today is unusually clear and beautiful. At this moment, Jin Hae-ri has been sound asleep for some time, unbeknownst to anyone. "We would like to inform the passengers that we have arrived at the Gyeongju Provincial Bus Terminal. This is the last stop of the bus. Please check your luggage before disembarking. After that, please enjoy an interesting tour of Bio in the city of Beach." After waking up from a deep sleep due to the driver's wake-up call, Jin Hae-ri quickly moves to the museum of this city because it is one of the destinations she wants to visit. "One regular ticket, please." "Yes, here you go." "Thank you." The beautiful Jin Hae-ri hums her favorite song while holding the ticket in her hand. Since the main character of the movie is a woman from Beach, she visits the museum to learn more about the history and understand that era better. However, the trip is even more interesting than she thought. Hae-ri secretly wishes that the precious jewelry on display was hers, which would be wonderful. But suddenly, a sign catches her attention and surprises her. It is the sign for the display of a precious gold-plated bronze incense burner. The incense burner is even displayed in a separate area, distinct from the other artifacts. Unable to contain her curiosity, Jean Hae-ri approaches to take a closer look. At that moment, she stands completely still, staring in wonder at the glittering incense burner displayed in the glass case. Oh, how marvelous it is! Under the lights, the incense burner sparkles, resembling a gemstone with its intricate carvings. The active Jean Hae-ri is completely captivated by its mysterious beauty. Although she has seen pictures of it several times, seeing it with her own eyes makes it much more beautiful. For some reason, the more she looks at the incense burner, the more she strangely loves it. Her round eyes cannot look away from the artifact in front of her. Despite the passage of time and being buried underground for many years, the delicate carvings are still perfectly preserved as if they were crafted by a great jeweler just yesterday. People say it is a national treasure, and indeed, such a valuable item is truly worthy of that title. But after admiring the incense burner for a while, Jean Hae-ri suddenly comes up with an idea. Should I make a wish? Thinking so, the mischievous girl closes her eyes and silently prays, "O bronze incense burner, I wish everyone in the world would admire my acting talent. Please help me become the best actress." Suddenly, while she is making her wish with her eyes closed, the incense burner emits a beautifully enchanting and sparkling light. I will also try my best to become a wonderful actress. Very soon, the day of the audition arrives, and the audition takes place at an entertainment company with a grand and beautiful headquarters. This is a special casting call for the lead female role in a highly invested film called The Muyang Tower. Many professional actresses and even newcomers dressed in traditional costumes gather in the grand hall, waiting for their turn. Due to the large number of people, the noise is unavoidable, and Jean Hae-ri is also present in the crowd. At this moment, the girl looked around at everyone and secretly thought that this must be a specially broadcasted movie, hence the heavy promotion by the investors. The scale of today's audition was no joke. There were only 3 minutes to audition, and within those 3 minutes, one had to make a strong impression on the judges to succeed. Although the judges seemed quite picky, they were not impossible to surpass. After a long wait, the sound of the announcement from the loudspeaker startled Hae-ri. Contestant number 134, Jean Hae-ri, please be ready, the announcement called. Hearing her turn was up, Jean Hae-ri took a deep breath and slowly entered the hall. Stay calm, Jean Hae-ri, you can't lose this opportunity, keep going, she told herself. The girl's hands were tightly clenched and slightly trembling, showing that her inner state was not as calm as she wished. Jean Hae-ri, beautiful in her traditional costume, slowly exhaled. Confidence gradually appeared on the face of the beautiful girl. You can do it, Jean Hae-ri, you definitely can. The audition results were quickly announced. 20 candidates had passed the second round. From today, everyone would live together in the apartment complex and prepare for the upcoming third round. After confirming her selection, she was instructed to go to the information desk for further guidance. The list of successful candidates was released, causing everyone to gather and check the results. Amidst the crowd, some laughed, some cried, and Jean Hae-ri struggled to push through to see her own result. She scanned the array of numbers on the announcement board until her eyes blurred. She searched for her familiar number. There it is, my number, 134 Jean Hae-ri. Is my name on the list? I passed the second round, I made it through. Jean Hae-ri, beautiful and fortunate, was on the list of 20 candidates, which made her so happy she couldn't help but jump for joy. The 20 candidates who made it to the next round would live together in the company's dormitory apartment complex, awaiting the next assessment. So, Jean Hae-ri would have to stay in Gyeongju for the upcoming week. At this time, the girl was applying a face mask, taking care of her skin, and calling her mother to update her on the situation. Don't worry, Mom, I'm sure I can do it this time. Yes, believe in me, I know. I'll hang up now and talk to you later. Love you, Mom. This time, Hae-ri had harnessed energy from Beach, and after all, this place wasn't bad since the company even provided her with a private room. The girl sat back against the bed, happily smiling, drying her hair with a towel when suddenly, Jean Hae-ri looked out the window and saw a shimmering light like a multicolored smoke swirling outside. What's that? Is there a festival outside? The beautiful blue and purple smoke puzzled Jean Hae-ri. Why do the fireworks look strange today, or is that smoke? It looks so unusual. Out of curiosity, Jean Hae-ri approached the window to get a better look at the strange thing outside. Oh, why is the smoke flying so high? But it's also incredibly beautiful. The mysterious smoke, fluttering outside the window, came closer and closer to the room, startling Jin Hae-ri. When did it get in front of me? Why is it getting closer? Suddenly, at that moment, the mysterious smoke pierced straight through the window and into the room, leaving Jin Hae-ri agape in astonishment. What? It just went through the window. Watching the mysterious smoke fluttering in her room, Jin Hae-ri panicked and screamed involuntarily. Looking at the sparkling smoke with moonlight and mysterious purple hues, Hae-ri was terrified, sweating, and trembling. What's happening? Am I dreaming right now? The strange smoke swirled around the room for a while, then seemed to gather together, converging in the center of the room. What is that? Jin Hae-ri's voice trembled along with her utterly astonished face. Suddenly, the smoke dissipated, leaving a man in traditional costume in the middle of the room. Oh my god, what is this? Jin Hae-ri screamed in shock. The girl was stunned by the sight before her, as everything was too illogical and fantastical. Jin Hae-ri stood frozen, looking at the man lying on the floor, still unable to regain her composure. The girl was extremely confused, trying to imagine the scene just now. Did smoke just enter the room and then turn into a person? Suddenly, the unconscious man on the floor trembled and made an involuntary sound, startling Hae-ri. Is he a man? He has long hair, but he is indeed a man. It seemed that the unconscious man was gradually regaining consciousness, his eyebrows furrowed tightly, his eyes slowly opening, and he used his hand to prop himself up from the floor. Seeing this, Hae-ri became even more panicked as he opened his eyes and was about to wake up. The girl stammered and hastily backed away. Who are you? Who are you? The man did not answer but suddenly yawned. Then, he turned over as if looking for a comfortable position to continue sleeping, his eyes closed, his eyebrows slightly furrowed, but he did not wake up. His breathing gradually stabilized as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. Hae-ri was dumbfounded, her eyes wide open. Is he still asleep? I thought he was about to wake up. What is this? What is he doing here? How did he appear in that smoke? The girl was scared but cautiously approached him. Look at me, hey you, excuse me, but who are you and how did you get in here? I'm sorry to say this, but you can't stay here, please leave my room immediately. Should I wake him up? I don't even know who he is. What if he wakes up and tries something indecent with me? Whether it was the girl's voice or something else, the man suddenly woke up with a start, his eyes wide open. He's awake. Hae-ri's heart felt like it was about to stop, the two stared at each other, and then a scream echoed, resonating through the apartment complex in the dark night. It wasn't too late yet, so a few rooms still had their lights on. The girls who made it to the top 20 of the audition, some of whom hadn't slept, heard the scream and opened their doors, wondering where the noise came from. People began to gather in the hallway, whispering and speculating about who had screamed and from which room. At this time, in her room, Jin Hae-ri was extremely frightened, trembling, trying to stay away from the strange man. The man suddenly sat up, rubbing his head, and told her, "Stop yelling, my ears are about to go deaf." Jin Hae-ri looked at him, filled with terror and her eyes brimming with tears. The man seemed surprised to see the girl before him crying and appearing very unfamiliar. "Who are you? Why are you in my room?" she asked. He didn't answer but looked at her for a moment before asking, "What are you?" Jin Hae-ri, confused, replied, "What did you say?" I asked, "What are you?" Despite her confusion, Jin Hae-ri mustered the courage to answer, "I am Jin Hae-ri, my candidate number is 134. Is this a test? If this is a test to see if I get flustered or startled, then you've gone too far because you're making me extremely scared," she said. The man was slightly taken aback by the girl's vehement reaction and didn't know what to do. "Don't cry, I didn't do anything to you, don't be afraid." At that moment, there was a knock on the door and a voice from outside, startling the strange man. "Jin Hae-ri, did you just scream? What's happening? Are you okay? I heard a scream from the room, please open the door, are you in there?" Hearing her name called, the girl was startled back to reality. Hesitant at first, but upon hearing her name, Jin Hae-ri quickly shouted for help, "Save me, there's an intruder in my room." The strange man became angry at her scream, "Jin Hae-ri, there's an intruder in your room." "Yes, quickly save me, there's an intruder, something serious has happened, I think the door is locked." The girls outside began to worry. "I'll go borrow a spare keycard from the reception." "Just a moment, Jin Hae-ri, we're getting the spare keycard and we'll be in with you soon." "Hurry up, please," Jin Hae-ri cried out in total panic. Not only was the girl scared, but the strange man was also bewildered as he didn't know where he was. He should have been in the bronze vessel, he didn't understand how he suddenly escaped. Seeing the girl still crying, he irritably comforted her, "Stop crying, it's giving me a headache." "I told you to stop, why do you cry more when I talk?" Just then, the girls outside got the key card and used it to burst into the room. "I've got the key card, we're opening the door now, are you okay, Hae-ri?" "We're coming in," they said. Seeing someone about to enter, the mysterious man became anxious but also realized the girl's name was Jean Hae-ri. After the beep of the electronic lock, the door opened, and the girls rushed in to see Jean Hae-ri sitting at the desk, eyes tightly shut, trembling with fear. "Jean Hae-ri, you said someone entered your room, right?" Upon hearing this, Jean Hae-ri suddenly pointed forward and screamed. "Yes, a man entered my room from a strange smoke. Here, he was even wearing ancient clothes." The girls were puzzled, searching around. "A man? Smoke? Ancient clothes? Jean Hae-ri, did you say someone was here? Where is the man?" "You're alone in the room," they said. Hearing this, Jean Hae-ri suddenly opened her eyes. "But he was just here, right in front of me, how come there's no one now?" The beautiful girl became even more confused as the room was now empty, and the place where the man sat had no one, her wide eyes once again filled with bewilderment. "An intruder? But we don't see anyone, are you okay, Jean Hae-ri?" The strange man had suddenly disappeared, so Hae-ri had to respond vaguely to her friends. "You didn't see anything, I must have been dreaming." Though she tried to laugh it off, deep down, the girl was still frightened because it couldn't have been a dream. At the same time, on the rooftop of the towering building, a pair of strange legs suddenly appeared. The mysterious man from Jean Hae-ri's room now stood on the rooftop like a ghost, his clothes fluttering in the wind, gazing at the glittering night cityscape before him, wondering, "What kind of strange place is this?" The cold night wind blew through his long hair, adding to the man's enigmatic appearance. He quietly observed the city from above, filled with a strange sense of wonder and no answers. "Where am I?" he murmured, looking up at the dark night sky, "the moon still high and round, surely I'm still on Earth." The man began to try to figure out where he was, looking from the moon to the twinkling lights below, attracted by the flashing lights, not knowing what they were. Back in the room, Jean Hae-ri was extremely embarrassed, apologizing to her friends for disturbing them late at night. "No, it's okay, you must have been mistaken, it's a new sleeping place, so you're probably not used to it yet." "No, but I think someone was here," he said. The man appeared from within the smoke, with his hair tied up and dressed in traditional clothing. "We understand, but we have to go now." "Good night," the girl said. Seeing them return to their room, Jean Hae-ri could only say, "Thanks for coming." "Do you think she saw a ghost?" one girl whispered. "Is this place haunted?" Jean Hae-ri overheard this, making her wonder if it was really a ghost. "Is he really a ghost?" "He looks so much like one," she thought while nervously biting her nails. She didn't notice the strange smoke entering the room through the window again. From the smoke, the mysterious man appeared and approached her. He didn't look exactly like a ghost, but he did seem ghostly. Jean Hae-ri mumbled to herself, not paying attention until he was right in front of her, making her jump out of her skin. "Where is this place, and what period is it now?" the man asked, standing before her. Jean Hae-ri froze, recognizing him as the same figure from earlier. Seeing her confusion, he grew impatient. "I asked, where are we and what period is this?" he repeated. "Oh my God, he can talk. I should move to another room," Jean Hae-ri thought. Since she had been motionless, he reached out to touch her shoulder. Feeling his touch, Jean Hae-ri, bewildered and shaken, thought, "I need to change rooms immediately." A ghost. Hearing her call him a ghost, the man was startled. "What? Did you just call me a ghost?" he demanded, grabbing her. "Calm down and tell me where we are, quickly," he said, shaking her, while Jean Hae-ri was nearly paralyzed with fear. "A ghost is touching me," she screamed. "Why do you say that? I'm not a ghost. I'm a god who emerged from the incense burner," he insisted. Jean Hae-ri caught on to his words. "You're the god from the incense burner?" she asked. "Why do you appear and disappear like a ghost? You scared me to death." She pushed him away. "Don't react so strongly," he replied. "I haven't controlled my powers for a long time. It's been ages since I was last in the real world." Jean Hae-ri, her thoughts racing, began to think about an incense burner. "An incense burner? The only unusual one I know of is the gold-plated one in the museum," she realized. "Are you talking about the gold-plated incense burner in the museum?" she asked. The man was confused. "Gold-plated incense burner? What are you talking about?" At this point, Jean Hae-ri's mood changed dramatically. "Yes, that must be it. I'm the one who freed you. I've succeeded. Why were you stuck in there? What crime did you commit?" she asked, suddenly excited. Her excitement annoyed him. "Why are you suddenly so noisy and talking so much? Are you not scared anymore?" he asked, bewildered. What's wrong with her? Why is he so angry, she wondered. The god stared at her for a moment before explaining slowly. I suddenly lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself in a dark incense burner. I don't know how long it has been. So, am I the first person to release you from that burner? Jin Hae-ri asked, astonished. Yes, you're the first, he confirmed. Her vivid imagination kicked in. This feels familiar, like something from a story, she thought. Oh, right. It's like the genie in Aladdin and the magic lamp. The genie grants 3 wishes to the master who freed him. She smiled brightly. Exactly, 3 wishes. You'll be free after granting me 3 wishes, right? You said you're a god, so my first wish is? The god from the incense burner was puzzled. Wishes? Why should I care about your wishes? Answer my question first, he demanded. No, but my wish, she protested. You've forgotten already? I asked where we are and what period this is. Startled, Jin Hae-ri stammered, we're in Gyeongju, Gyeongbok Province, and it's the year 2019. Gyeongju? And what about Beach? He asked. Jin Hae-ri, shaking off his hand, replied, Gyeongju used to be called Sea Arabial during the Silla dynasty. And Beach? He asked again. The kingdom of Beach collapsed and disappeared a long time ago, she explained. Hearing this, the man was shocked and couldn't believe his ears. What? Beach collapsed? Beach, he murmured, becoming gloomy and disheartened. Meanwhile, Jin Hae-ri, still unaware of the gravity of the situation, continued to dream about her 3 wishes. And my first wish is a beautiful house for myself. No, a tall building would be better, yes, a skyscraper. You have no idea how many stories it could hold. When she looked again, the mysterious man had disappeared. The room was silent, and she was alone. Where did he go, she wondered. Frustrated and speechless, Jin Hae-ri fumed. He said he wasn't a ghost and that I freed him from the incense burner. Where's my wish? What about my skyscraper? He's really just a deadbeat ghost. Jin Hae-ri erupted like a volcano, shouting in anger. In the neighboring rooms, the girls heard her yelling and started to wonder, what's happening now? Is she at it again? What's she yelling about? Let's just keep doing our work. Is she trying to get attention? I want to know more about her, but this is too much. The city at night was aglow with bright lights, and despite the light pollution, the scene was beautiful. In the night sky, a shadow appeared like a ghost. The girl's words echoed in the mysterious god's mind. Gyeongju used to be called Sea Arabial during the Silla dynasty. The kingdom of Beach collapsed and disappeared long ago. The figure flying under the moonlight was the god, still reeling from the shock of Beach's fall. Beach collapsed? Ari, where are you? Ari, where are you? The image of a beautiful, gentle girl filled his thoughts once again. Suddenly, a beam of light shot across the sky like a falling star. It headed straight to the ancient ruins. It was the god who had flown there. At the sight of the former Beach kingdom, he stood in bewilderment, finding nothing but remnants. Everything was unfamiliar and only a few traces of the kingdom remained. The night wind blew, making his long hair flutter as he took each weary step, deep in sorrow. In the end, how long did it take for such a vast kingdom to turn to dust? He suddenly noticed a wooden pillar that looked like a chair. He immediately went closer and sat beside it, bending his knees. His hand gently touched the piece of wood in front of him. Where his hand touched, a beautiful, mystical light emerged. "Oh wood, you have protected this place alone for so long. Tell me, why has everything disappeared, and what happened to Ari? Tell me everything." No one knew what the strange man was doing. Of course, not even Hae-ri, who was still in her dorm, was confused. Was it a dream, or did I really see a ghost? She sighed and lay on the bed, lost in thought. But it couldn't have been an illusion. It was too real to be an illusion or a dream. So, was he really a ghost? While Hae-ri was still deep in her thoughts, a cold voice suddenly called her from beside. "Hey, look here, miss." But it seemed Jin Hae-ri was still lost in her own thoughts and didn't notice. There's no such thing as ghosts. It must be, "Hey, can you hear me?" The mysterious man from earlier suddenly appeared, leaning close to her, making Hae-ri's eyes widen in panic. Instinctively, she opened her mouth to scream, but it seemed no sound could come out. Even from the hallway outside, nothing could be heard. A ghost, a ghost. He's back, but I can't speak, Hae-ri panicked, her mouth agape. The man floated cheerfully in front of her. "Since you screamed last time and messed everything up, now I've sealed your mouth so you can't scream. You should be quieter," he said, floating. "But what? How dare you?" Jin Hae-ri was furious to hear her mouth was sealed. She removed her headphones angrily. "You wretched thing, how dare you?" In her rage, she grabbed the man's neck with both hands. One of her legs kneed him hard in the stomach with a loud thud. The strange man fell to the floor, his hands trembling, unable to stand. Jin Hae-ri, enraged, scolded, "If you want me to be quiet, don't scare me like that. Why do you keep bothering me, appearing and disappearing? Who wouldn't be startled? The man ignored her scolding and angrily retorted, "How dare you kick a god?" His stance only made her angrier. So what? Even if you are a god, you shouldn't appear in front of a girl lying alone in bed like that. You nearly scared me to death. Does it hurt? I thought that kick wouldn't matter to a god? I didn't think you'd dare kick me. I had to appear in front of you because I called you many times, but you didn't respond. I just wanted to know who you are and how you could free me from the censor. What are you talking about? I don't understand anything. At this moment, a strange feeling began to arise in Jin Hae-ri. The more she looked at the man before her, the more familiar he seemed. You are. A spark of realization flashed in her mind. Jin Hae-ri's eyes widened, and her reaction slowed. What is happening? My body feels so hot. Her body suddenly glowed with a beautiful, intense light, as if being consumed by a fiery furnace. Her hair began to float and shine mysteriously. A tear formed in her large eyes, now filled with a nameless but deep sadness. Jin Hae-ri looked up at the man before her, unable to hold back her painful tears. "Ansamairo," she cried out unexpectedly, startling the strange god. "Ansamairo," Jin Hae-ri called out, tears streaming down. He didn't understand why she said that name. The god immediately turned around, shocked, calling out, "Ari?" He turned to see the confused girl, tears flowing, uttering the name Ansamairo. His eyes filled with disbelief and panic. "Ari, is it you?" The image of a beautiful, gentle girl flashed in the general's memory. "Don't get hurt, my general." "No, it can't be. General." At this moment, Jin Hae-ri was bewildered by her reaction. She didn't understand why she was crying. "What's wrong with me?" The god in the censer moved closer to the girl. He suddenly said, "I understand now." Though still sobbing, Jin Hae-ri felt an overwhelming, inexplicable sadness. She couldn't control her body or stop her tears. The god moved closer, gently comforting her. "I understand now. So, it's you." Jin Hae-ri's tears wouldn't stop, and she seemed unable to control her body as her heart ached unexpectedly. The god's hand slowly rose, intending to touch her. "Don't cry anymore. Don't cry," he said softly. Jin Hae-ri's mind was clear enough to realize, no, the person crying isn't me. Hearing the man call her Ari, her mind protested. "Ari? No, I'm Jin Hae-ri. Sorry I didn't recognize you sooner." "I'm so sorry." The god gently moved his hands towards the still sobbing girl, held her, and softly comforted her. "Don't cry anymore. Calm down." Jin Hae-ri, still bewildered, stopped crying. "I didn't think I'd see you again like this," he said with a gentle smile, bending down. Then, suddenly, he hugged Jin Hae-ri tightly. "Who could have known we would meet again?" A massive lightning bolt, with a thunderous sound, struck the starry sky. In another world, where the moon was as round and red as blood, a girl's angry voice echoed, "How could you do this to me? How could you let him meet that lowly thing again?" Her extreme anger made her hands tremble and clench tightly. "It is the command of God, do not act so rashly." "The command of God," the girl muttered angrily, clenching her teeth tightly. "Fine, I have waited for him for so long because it is the command of the Supreme God, isn't it? I have waited for him for so long because of the command of the Supreme Deity, right? Have I not waited for more than 1,000 years? Do you think this period is short? So, you still hate him, don't you? From the beginning, you were the one who rejected him. What do you want him to do? After all this time, you still haven't stopped blaming others. It's terrible. If only your character was half as good as your beauty, I would be satisfied." The silver-haired woman spoke while sighing deeply. Hearing this, the girl shouted angrily, "Your Highness, stop this nonsense. This is the last reincarnation of that child. Stay calm and patient until he returns." The beautiful girl retorted angrily, "I do not want him to test my patience. How can I accept this man as my husband after all he has done to that miserable girl? Why would you say that? I am too tired to continue talking about this mess. Do what you want, but do not touch that girl." Hearing the woman speak, the girl shouted angrily again, "Your Highness." The woman looked at the beautiful but venomous face of the girl in front of her and sighed. "Now that he has recognized that girl, you will only endanger yourself if you try to harm her." "No, I will not give up, you fool," the beautiful girl with venomous white eyes shouted and then knelt down. Why does everyone blame me? They are the ones who are wrong, those wretched creatures. I will never forgive you until that vile cowardice turns to dust and vanishes without a trace. I will never forgive." The girl knelt on the floor, glaring with eyes like a fierce, ugly demon. The clouds in the sky gradually blew away, revealing a full moon that was red as blood, looking very strange and frightening. The sudden thunder earlier had startled everyone in the apartment complex because the cloudless sky suddenly had thunder and lightning, and even the power went out. But fortunately, the electricity was quickly restored. The girls stopped gathering to chat and went back to their rooms to sleep because they needed to prepare well for round 3 of the audition tomorrow. The hallway was now completely quiet as everyone was nearly asleep. The slender hand of the deity in the incense burner gently caressed the delicate face of Jin Hae-ri. "Is it you? Is it really you, Ari? Seeing you again has been my earnest wish for so long, and now it has come true." At that moment, Jin Hae-ri had fallen asleep, but a tear could still be seen at the corner of her eye. After a while, she gradually woke up, stirring restlessly, which left the deity at a loss for how to react. He looked at her with sparkling eyes full of special affection and tenderness, calling her name. "Ari, are you awake?" Suddenly startled awake, Hae-ri found herself in the arms of a strange man who was calling someone else's name, which shocked her. She screamed out, You pervert! What do you think you're touching?" In her anger, Hae-ri punched him straight in the chin. The deity, hurt by the punch to the point of tears, questioned back, What are you doing? Why did you suddenly punch me in the face?" Being called a pervert, the deity was puzzled and asked without understanding anything, "You don't need to know whether you're really a deity or not. If you're not going to grant my wish, then disappear from my sight, get out of here right now." Faced with the girl's scolding, the deity was helpless because, in fact, she had recognized him right before fainting, but now that she was awake, she acted as if she didn't know him and drove him away. "You said I helped you out of that pile of gold, what was it?" "Oh right, the golden incense burner. So now you have to fulfill my 3 wishes like Aladdin, huh?" The bewildered deity of the incense burner asked. 3 wishes? So what should I do now? He said he was a deity, a holy being that grants wishes to others. Isn't that supposed to be as easy as pie for you? The deity of the incense burner pondered upon hearing this and then replied, "Granting wishes is only feasible when I am in heaven." "Heaven? So now you can't do it because we're on earth?" Jin Hae-ri asked back, and the deity of the incense burner nodded. "What the heck? So now he's completely useless to me?" Her great effort to come to the museum was in vain. The boy didn't know the thoughts going on in the girl's head. He just pouted and lay down on the floor because he was too tired. He wanted to sleep. "What, you want to sleep there, on the floor?" "Yes, it's been a long time since I last moved, so I'm exhausted." Looking at the man lying on the floor, Jin Hae-ri didn't know what to do because only those participating in the contest were allowed to be there. What should she do? But surely he would disappear again if someone showed up like last time. But having a man in the room was a bit, "Hey, wait a minute, are you asleep already? I'm speechless with you. Why do you cling to me when you don't fulfill any wishes?" The image of Jin Hae-ri and the strange deity suddenly appeared on the water somewhere, and at the same time, 2 deities were watching Jin Hae-ri and the deity of the incense burner through the water surface, the guardian of Seokian. "You did that on purpose, didn't you, revealing that child? Be careful, look at how Darien is furious in Wool Palace. She won't just sit back and ignore everything." A fairy stood next to the flower guardian and advised. At this time Jin Hae-ri had gone to bed to sleep, but she seemed still worried about the boy lying on the floor for fear he would get stiff. The guardian of the tranquil flowers watched Jin Hae-ri and another person for a while before answering the fairy. "Yes, she will not be far away. But what about you, Miss Haji? Don't you think that child is pitiable?" Beneath the water surface, Jin Hae-ri handed a pillow to the incense deity so he would not be in pain. The guardian's warm voice echoed, "That girl has saved his life several times in many past lives." When the little girl reached the riverbank next to the flower field, she discovered a bloodied sword. Her lovely, large, innocent eyes, once like the calm lake, were now filled with shock and fear. A young man in iron armor lay bloodied by the riverbank. Long ago, the girl wandered between the Seokian flower garden and the river, hoping to become a fairy one day. She gave up her life to save him, and though separated by the supreme god of fate, they were brought together again. They are each other's destiny. The night had fallen. At a television station's headquarters, the office lights were still on, suggesting someone was still there. A young man stood looking at the city through the glass window and answered the phone. "This is Kong Min-woo. I plan to personally supervise the 3rd audition round in Gyeongju tomorrow." "What? You intend to give the role of a Sanyo and the Guzulaji audition prize to Lee Ha-young?" The manager was taken aback by the news on the phone. "Director, I don't understand your implication. We created this competition to give the main role to the winner. If the winner only gets a minor role, it could cause chaos. That's absurd. If the press publishes negative articles, we could lose potential viewers even before the show airs." "Yes, I have watched the video from the 2nd round. Currently, contestant number 134, Jin Hae-ri, is leading. She is promising. Although her appearance is somewhat plain and unimpressive, her acting skills are the best. I could see why she scored the highest from the first meeting, and most importantly, she makes me feel like she truly is the character. The person on the other end of the line pondered and then countered manager Kang Min-woo, but have you heard? Jin Hae-ri has many issues because of her previous company. Anyway, just give the main role to Lee Ha-young. Oh, stop nagging me about the ratings. Public interest will wane over time. If we cast an unknown actor in the lead role without any sponsorship, what will we do about the production costs? Listen to me, Manager Kang. The day quickly brightens with sparkling rays of sunlight shining down on the garden beside the apartment building. I wonder if anyone else found last night's thunderstorm quite frightening? Yes, and there was a power outage after the lightning. At the dining table, the girls began discussing last night's thunderstorm. It might have been an accident outside because I've never seen such a large bolt of lightning before. Classes started early this morning, but the thunderstorm left many people frightened, so some girls couldn't sleep well. Everyone at the dining table seemed quite anxious about the audition results. At that moment, Jin Hae-ri hurriedly appeared with a plate of food in her hands and shyly asked if she could sit and eat with everyone since the dining room was full. Of course, you can sit, they said. Jin Hae-ri happily walked over, sat down on the empty chair, and thanked everyone. A polite and beautiful girl smiled and greeted her. You're number 134, Jin Hae-ri, right? I'm Han Sora. You couldn't sleep well last night because of the thunder, could you? Hearing the girl mention the thunderstorm, Jin Hae-ri seemed puzzled and asked, What? The thunder? It was really loud, wasn't it? You didn't notice the thunder and lightning outside? When I'm asleep, even if there's construction right next to me, I wouldn't wake up. The girl smiled and said, I see. The rest of us were terrified by last night's blackout, and we had to run out of the room. Jin Hae-ri was bewildered by the story because she knew nothing about it. Remembering last night, she angrily clenched her teeth. Damn it. Time rewinds to last night when everything fell into sleep. Despite a tiring day and a stranger in the room, Jin Hae-ri quickly fell into a deep sleep on the comfortable bed. Meanwhile, the strange deity lay on the floor on the pillow she had given him, seemingly very pleased with the soft pillow he had never touched before. Oh my goodness. I wonder what the girl will give me. Is this a pillow? Oh heavens, it's really soft, and the velvet is small and better than I thought. If it is, the young man thought to himself as he sat up, if it's that spacious bed, how comfortable it would be. It's still fine if I touch it, right? So, the deity quietly approached the bed and touched it. Wow, it feels like I'm putting my hand into a cloud, so soft. Why did she take all the clouds for herself? How selfish. Is she still not comfortable with me? I guess remembering her past life might be difficult. I have no choice but to wait, the young man thought as he lay down on the bed next to Jin Hae-ri. A quiet night passed without incident. In the early morning, the sunlight hit her face, but Jin Hae-ri was awakened by a tiny snoring sound in her ear. The sound grew louder, preventing her from sleeping any longer, and she opened her eyes. What is that noise? The girl cursed as she turned to look, and suddenly behind her was the face of the deity from last night. Oh my goodness, I swear he was on the floor last night. When did this wretch get up here? Jin Hae-ri shouted angrily. Hey, who let you sleep here? Get up now. Seeing her noisy so early, the deity turned away and grumbled, It's too early for me to get up, wait a bit. Jin Hae-ri, still angry, stood up and kicked the deity. I don't care, disappear from my sight immediately. Later, at breakfast, Jin Hae-ri was still very angry. He claims to be a deity, but turns out to be a pervert too, Unbearable. He must be an evil spirit, not a demon, right? This perverted demon. Because of her anger, Jin Hae-ri stabbed her fork down onto the plate of food. Whether I have to change rooms or use charms, I must get rid of him. What if I fail the audition because of stress? That cannot happen. The clear blue sky and the gentle breeze rustled the leaves, causing the yellow leaves to fall in the yard of an old house. The consciousness of the ancient tree connected with the man lying on its trunk, and it asked, Why are you sighing? The deity replied, Because the world seems to have changed quite a lot. The tree smiled and said, Indeed. The deity looked at the tree and wondered, But why are you still so full of life? Full of life? I've only lived for 1,000 years, the tree replied. I say that because among peers, you're the only one still alive while the others are still quite young. Hearing the deity's words, the tree pondered, perhaps that's just how things work. What can a simple tree like me do? The incense burner deity agreed with it, rubbing his eyes and nodding, Indeed, but how did you escape? The tree asked further, You don't need to know that. I promise to visit occasionally. So tell me everything you've seen since I left, all the interesting and surprising things. Yes, I will tell, the tree said, but but it intended to ask something else. The deity, annoyed by it, jumped down. I just want to rest a bit, but I keep getting disturbed by annoying questions. Unfortunately for him, as he jumped down carelessly, he was spotted by two tourists. They murmured to each other because someone had just fallen incorrectly, jumping down easily from a high tree, and his clothes were very special. The intense gaze of the two made the deity angry because they kept staring at him, so he loudly questioned, "Hey, you're being rude. Who do you think you're staring at?" The two didn't pay attention to him and hurriedly took out their phones to take pictures, probably because they were filming something nearby, as his clothes looked like ancient costumes. Ah, right, the historical drama Gyeongju is being filmed nearby. First, let's take a picture together, and then we can find out which program they're investing in, they said, quickly taking a picture with the deity. Meanwhile, the deity was gaping, not understanding anything. Did you get the picture? Let's move on to the next area. We still have many places to visit. They left, chatting and laughing, leaving the deity bewildered, not understanding anything. At the company, the third audition was about to start, and the announcer said that today some famous stars would be present. We know there may be some objections, but please understand our cast. We need a few famous people for the movie to succeed. Hearing the announcement, the girls at the audition were very upset because they didn't want to be mere backdrops for those actors. They were here to audition for the main roles. Even Jin Hae-ri, who was usually hot-tempered, got angry but managed to suppress her frustration. After the announcement, everyone started to disperse and went back to their rooms to prepare for the audition, adjusting their outfits and makeup. Hae-ri, standing in front of the mirror tying her hair, thought that this was the audition she had been looking forward to for a long time. But with things going like this, should she give up? No, she couldn't give up now. Jin Hae-ri recalled a past incident when she was lured to a bar by the department head. "Sir, I'm here to act, not to serve you drinks at a bar," she had said. "Come on, Jin Hae-ri, why don't you understand the hints? Drinks are just a method. I just want you to be more sociable with the cast and make you more famous. Don't you want that? I don't need it. This place doesn't feel proper at all," Jin Hae-ri had retorted angrily. "Oh my god, you're taking this way too seriously. But you don't need to do anything else. Just show me your breasts and butt," the department head had said, bluntly and crudely. His words left Jin Hae-ri bewildered and frowning. "What did you just say? You bastard." In her fury, Jin Hae-ri turned into a rage-fueled demon and gave him a hard kick in his private parts. Remembering her fierce reaction, Jin Hae-ri sighed. She should have left and not kicked him, right? But no, what she did was right. Those bastards needed a good kick in their most painful spot so they could start living decently. "No need to regret it, Jin Hae-ri. The producer and actress Lee Ha-young have arrived," someone announced. "All right, I understand. I'll go down and wait." At the same time, a luxurious white limousine drove into the company's premises. "Hey, you're here. You must be tired from coming all the way here, right?" The person who appeared was actress Lee Ha-young, with her short hair, beautiful face, and hot body. "Yeah, I'm a bit late because I had to shoot a commercial. Where's my room? I want to rest today." Muyung Temple is the name of a 3-story pagoda built at Bulguksa Temple during the Silla era. It is linked to a very sad legend about a man named Asadal, a master stone builder from Bio of the Beech Kingdom. He left to build a pagoda in the capital of Silla. At that time, the master said goodbye to his beloved wife and promised her that he would return after successfully completing the construction, so she shouldn't worry. He loved his wife very much. Her name was Asanyo. Day after day, Asanyo lived in loneliness, waiting for him while people began to bother her out of envy. Many people, knowing the talent of Asadal, came to see the temple and praise it. They gathered and hoped to meet the pagoda builder, and their wishes came true when Asadal appeared to meet the high officials. "You are Asadal from Bio, a talented builder," they exclaimed. People started to praise his extraordinary skills, and even his face was very handsome, as beautiful as the bright moon. A noble lady standing nearby was also amazed at his appearance. From the moment she saw him, Lady Guzulaji fell in love with Asadal at first sight during the Buddha's birthday celebration. Looking at his diligent, dedicated, and serious demeanor, she couldn't take her eyes off Asadal. At the same time, Asanyo took a long journey to meet her husband. She was devastated to learn she couldn't meet him until the temple was finished. She heard she might see the shadow of the temple on the surface of a small nearby lake. Therefore, she came every day to wait for the shadow to appear. However, it is very sad that day after day, she still could not see it. Asanyo looked up at the high sky. Then, she turned her gaze down to the deep lake and sighed. When will this end? From one day to the next, the pitiful woman stood by the lake's edge. She hoped to see her husband's image. But one day, the girl was too tired. She knelt down. Asadal, I am getting more and more tired, she said. I can't bear it anymore. Please, please, even just a little, I just want to see you. In this scene, we want you to reenact Asanyo's emotions. She is waiting for Asadal by the lake. We will film the process with a professional team. This will help us evaluate your performance. We will arrange the order of calling. The first person, please come to the stage, number 1. A girl heard her number and immediately sat up. Here I am, she said. Not knowing if anyone was mumbling, she was very worried. It is difficult and challenging to improvise dialogue without a script beforehand. This task is not easy for Jin Hae-ri either. So, she swallowed and began to think. The first girl called to the stage trembled with fear. But she also hesitantly said her name. I am number 89, Kim Jae-ji. Then, the girl began her audition. Asadal, I want to see you so much, she said. Please call number 122. When will I be able to see you again, my husband? The next contestant, please. I pray to Buddha to let me see you just one more time. I am number 232, Lee Ha-young. With her voice, a delicate hand appeared on stage. The girl with the next performance was Lee Ha-young. She had a beautiful and confident face. But it seems her acting did not match her beauty. Her dialogue was stiff and emotionless. Asadal, I want to die. This situation left the amateur actors sitting below in a daze. Asadal, I can't wait any longer, Asadal. Although the girl sitting below did not have much acting experience, it seemed everyone realized that Lee Ha-young's acting was not right at all. What's this? Her acting is not as good as I expected, someone said. I thought she had to be excellent, the host sitting below also worried. Oh my, what's wrong with her acting? Next contestant, please. I am number 324, Jin Hae-ri. When it was her turn, she was very determined. She silently told herself to act well to get the role. After all, she would be a sanyo. Today is not a holiday, but the historical site of Gyeongju is very crowded with visitors jostling each other. The noisy and bustling scene around makes the incense burner deity very uncomfortable. Oh my, it's so crowded, he thinks. It's vastly different from the previous beautiful tranquility. Suddenly, at this moment, someone appears beside him and asks, Excuse me, but is the outfit you're wearing traditional Silla attire? If it's okay, may we take a picture together? Darling, come here, he says, pulling his girlfriend over to take a photo with our deity, while the deity still looks bewildered. Afterward, the two of them leave, and the deity waves goodbye in confusion. Who is that guy, do you know him? No, he replies, I just thought his outfit was very unique, so I asked for a photo. He looks cool but also a bit scary, doesn't he? Surely no man is cuter than you, right? Because our deity has excellent hearing, he overhears the couple's giggling, which adds to his confusion. Oh deity, holy deity, a stiff voice suddenly echoes from the rock wall. Deity, don't lean so hard, I will collapse, says the incense burner deity, leaning against the stone wall. He sighs, what's this now, heavens? What's this? Can rocks also have souls? He speaks while looking up at the tall stone tower surrounding him, but it remains silent with no response. Don't underestimate us just because we are stones, they say. We are national treasures. The deity, sitting with his arms crossed, mumbles in response, I couldn't find anywhere to rest, so I came here. The stone wall nods in agreement. Haha, humans these days are really noisy, aren't they? Yes, that's right, that's right. They hold something strange, come close to me smiling, and then leave again. They always do such odd things, oh deity, that's called a photo. I also have hundreds of photos taken with me, even appearing in foreign magazines. The deity wonders, a photo, what is that? Ah, in the past, to build me, humans would draw what they wanted to see on paper and call it a drawing, right? Now, science has advanced, so they can create a drawing with a simple press, like this, says the stone wall as a snapping sound like a camera's shutter makes the deity startle, his hair standing on end. Oh my, why do people send everything all at once? The stone wall smiles, haha, it's just that it's been a long time since I had a conversation, so, anyway, how long do you plan to stay here? It's been quite a while since the last time I descended to the mortal realm, I don't know yet, but tell me what you know about the humans here. The deity leans against the high tower, looking around and murmuring, tell me about how they live, their habits, and their preferences too. I feel so unfamiliar, the wall says, I will tell you, but there are many things that know more about the world than I do because I have only stood still here all this time. What, something knows that much? Humans call it a computer, the deity learns. The small device you mentioned earlier is called a smartphone. It allows us to hear the sounds of others from a distance and also has the functions of a computer. Let's go back to the audition place. At this moment, Jin Hae-ri is kneeling on the stage, crying her heart out, but she remains silent without saying a word. The quiet scene surprises the girls around because Jin Hae-ri has been silent all this time. She just sits on the floor and cries from the beginning. But even so, everyone can feel the despair of Asanyo from the girl on the stage, each tear rolling long on her cheeks easily touches the emotions of everyone in the audience. Each whispered word she says is very gentle, hard to hear. Asadal, I want to see you. I have tried to come here just to see you, Asadal. Each whispered word speaks from the bottom of my heart but does not make the person below hear. The manager, Kang Min-woo, in the room above, immediately signals the cameraman to capture her expression right now. He will take his eyes off and look down at the girl on the stage whispering contestant number 134, Jin Hae-ri. Her performance this time is also very great. After the audition, the corridor begins to be noisy with waves of people passing by. Jin Hae-ri is about to go back to her room alone when two girls appear and suggest they can go back to the room together. Seeing two beautiful girls, Jin Hae-ri immediately brightens up and nods naturally. Seeing this, the two girls approach and keep praising Jin Hae-ri. How can she cry so naturally? Wow, I have never seen anyone like Jin Hae-ri being praised to the point of being shy, awkward. To be honest, I can't understand why Asanyo would wait for a man for so long. If it were me, I would have gone to find someone else already, haha. That's why she called him a jerk in the crying scene in the audition, right? He deserves it. He got married and ignored his wife and children and disappeared for years because of another girl, but the story is not like that. It was the young lady who clung to him. Yeah, that's right, if he were decent, he wouldn't have dragged so many girls into this. The three of them walked and chatted with each other until they reached the door of the room and then said goodbye to each other. Good night, Jin Hae-ri. Tomorrow is free so we can sleep in. After entering the room and closing the door, Jin Hae-ri leans against the door and contemplates. Then the girl suddenly gets excited. It's great, I made an impression without having to say anything. In the past, he used to cry a lot because he was scolded by his mother for being too wet, which made his mother even angrier. Anyway, it's beautiful now, isn't it? It's time to rest. The cheerful girl took a clean bath and then relaxed on the warm bed, hoping for quick results. But suddenly, he remembered that he hadn't seen that ghost or god anywhere. Jin Hae-ri suddenly remembered how she had kicked him down onto the bed this morning. He hadn't seen him all day. Well, never mind, he couldn't help anyway. Hopefully, she would never see him again. The girl thought to herself and gradually fell asleep after a long, tiring day. At the same time, at the historical site with a starry sky and dense trees in the night, the god was sitting on the roof talking to the soul of the rock. The rock whispered that the gold-plated incense burner was placed in the museum. The museum, what is it? Yes, the museum is where artifacts are collected and displayed. Hearing that, the god of incense was annoyed. Artifacts, why has my incense become an antique? This world is full of strange things. The rock then asked, do you know how much time you have left? What if you can't return to heaven? Hearing this, the god's hand suddenly clenched. If I can't return to heaven, if I can't go back, I will disappear. Suddenly, in that moment, the god sitting on the roof also disappeared as if he had never appeared. If you do not follow the arrangements of heaven, you will not be able to reincarnate, and you will fall into infinity and disappear from the world forever. The scene then shifted to the museum where the gold-plated incense burner was kept. Even if the outcome is disappearance, you still choose to leave? You will still descend to the mortal world? Along with the echoing voice from the past, the god appeared next to his incense burner. Looking at the incense burner in front of him, he sighed, I will go, I will protect that child. His hand gently placed on the glass cabinet wanting to reach the incense burner inside. What do you think you're doing? I summon you, come here with me, the boy silently shouted with a strange power beginning to radiate. The incense burner that was originally still in the glass cabinet now began to shake strangely. The incense burner shook more and more violently as if it was about to jump straight out of the glass cabinet. You still want me to fulfill your wish of 3 wishes? The sealed room suddenly appeared, a strong wind blowing, causing the god's hair to fly, and a strange light began to emit from the incense burner. Suddenly a flute appeared from the incense burner through the glass door, flying in the air. Then, the bamboo flute flew straight into the boy's hand. He gently caught the bamboo flute and silently called the name of the god of flute with it. I can fulfill the wish. Very quickly, a night passed with a clear sky and the chirping of birds. Jin Hae-ri sat up and stretched because she had a good sleep last night. Yes, but last night I didn't take care of my skin, so I should take a bath as well, right? The girl cautiously stepped into the bathroom, looking around anxiously for fear that the god might suddenly appear. Standing in front of the mirror, Jin Hae-ri thought to herself, I've finished bathing and put on makeup beautifully, but why do I feel so strange? Suddenly, I have a premonition that something bad is about to happen. What is this feeling? Why do I feel this way? In the dining hall, the girls gathered in a panic, discussing among themselves because today they were announcing the results immediately. Seeing Jin Hae-ri worried, the girl next to her gently took a sip of her morning coffee and exhaled deeply. She looked at Jin Hae-ri, smiled, and said, "I'm not very confident, but surely you will pass, right? You did very well." Another girl interjected, "No, I'm sure Junhee will also do very well. To be honest, I don't care much about the results, I just want to go home." "Yes, that's right. I feel the same way. I really want to see my puppy again." "Surely everyone will like your acting, Jin Hae-ri. I don't usually compliment others, but your acting was very good. I mean it sincerely." Being praised directly like that made Jin Hae-ri blush to the point where her face turned red. She bowed her head slightly and smiled at the girl in front of her. "Thank you so much. But, Jin Hae-ri, if you pass, you have to treat us, haha." "If that's the case, I'll invite you all for coffee." Jin Hae-ri's hands clenched tightly together because more than anyone else, she really hoped to get this role. Asanyo, she really wanted to become that girl. Honestly, Hae-ri thought that they could assign her any role as long as she had the opportunity to act. A while later, in the auditorium where the results were to be announced, the familiar host stood on stage and began to announce, "Thank you for the efforts of all the contestants. To enter this round, the reason the audition was held earlier than expected is that our movie signed a contract with a famous foreign TV channel yesterday. Now, I would like to announce the main cast list. Asanyo, the female lead of the Muyang Tower, will be." Jin Hae-ri sat below, extremely tense and anxious. "The female lead will be Ms. Lee Ha-young. Let us announce the main cast first. Asanyo, the female lead of the Muyang Tower, will be Ms. Lee Ha-young." After the organizing committee announced the results for the female lead role, it caused quite a stir, and only a few people came forward to congratulate the actress Lee Ha-young. The majority of the other girls were extremely puzzled as to why she was chosen for the female lead, feeling that there was a significant bias here due to Lee Ha-young's terrible acting. While Jin Hae-ri was still bewildered, someone's hand touched her back. "Jin Hae-ri, are you okay? It's a pity you weren't chosen, you acted very well." A beautiful girl came to console Jin Hae-ri. Her mood was a bit disappointed, but not too bad, so she responded with a smile, "Haha, it's okay, I'm fine. I'm sure I'll have a chance next time, right?" While Jin Hae-ri was still flustered, the host continued to announce, "Then we will continue to announce the cast. Asadao, the male lead of the Muyang Tower, will be actor Moon Do-hyuk. Gazulaji, the noble lady of the Silla House, will be given to Jin Hae-ri." Hearing her name in the list of actors made her incredibly surprised and agape. "Oh my, I am Gazulaji. I did not expect that. I participated in this audition hoping to get the role of Asanyo." Receiving this role left Jin Hae-ri quite bewildered. So, Lee Ha-young will play Asanyo, and Jin Hae-ri will play the noble lady Gazulaji. The girls who had the chance to talk with Jin Hae-ri all came forward to congratulate her for getting the role. Facing this friendliness, Jin Hae-ri shyly thanked them. With that, we will conclude our announcement about the cast and send our sincere condolences to those who did not pass. We ask those who have been confirmed as part of the cast to please stay a little longer. After going through a series of procedures and receiving the script in hand, sitting in her room, Jin Hae-ri sighed wearily. The new TV drama is a special project, so she has to give it her all. She reassured herself that she had practiced hard enough, so it should be fine. While she was still fondling the script in her hand, suddenly a voice rang out, startling her. "Does it look like a book, doesn't it? Oh, this one flips open upwards, not like other books, right?" Jin Hae-ri was horrified, gaping at the deity in front of her. "My script, when did you take it?" "Hey, she already said it, I am a deity." Jin Hae-ri glared and shouted loudly, "I don't care if you are a deity, give it back now. It's very important to me, give it back." "What, can I not look at it for a while?" "Don't be so selfish, okay? I heard that books these days are very advanced, they don't wear out no matter how many times they are used." The words and manner of speaking of this deity made Jin Hae-ri confused, but she was very angry and yelled, "What are you talking about? Stop talking nonsense and give me back my script. That's why I can remember the lines, and you, disappear, what, disappear?" The deity jumped in shock. "Yes, that's right, give me back my script, give it here now." As soon as Jin Hae-ri finished speaking, the script flew back into her hands. "Ha, see, even the script recognizes its owner," the deity grumbled, frowning. "What owner? That's not because of you, it's because I am fulfilling your wish. Enough with the wishes, it turned to me because I look more trustworthy than a crazy person in strange fake clothes like you." "What, fake? You dare say I'm fake?" Seeing the deity still confused and angry, Jin Hae-ri continued, if you don't want to hear that, then wear something clean and more appropriate, like a suit. Your suit should have, I am an imposter, written on it, right? While Jin Hae-ri was talking about the suit, a mysterious smoke suddenly appeared, swirling and enveloping the deity, making him slump to the floor. The smoke grew denser, covering the deity like an explosion spreading around. The sealed room had strong winds blowing fiercely with smoke flying about. Jin Hae-ri struggled to cover her eyes with her hands. What's this? What's with this smoke? Oh my, he's such a mess, always causing trouble like this. After the wind blew the smoke away, revealing the deity sitting on the floor, but his clothes had transformed into a beautiful suit. Jin Hae-ri stared in amazement, mouth agape. The deity also noticed the strangeness on himself and seemed just as astonished. What did you say? He angrily stood up and yelled at Jin Hae-ri. Huh, my clothes have become really strange, huh? Oh my god, you're actually wearing this suit, the deity frowned, his eyebrows furrowed. All this happened because you wished for these strange things, don't wish for random things anymore, everything I said, but why did you ask me to grant you a wish, then that's the wish. Jin Hae-ri didn't understand at all but also retorted, unable to lose her momentum. The deity scratches his head in frustration, oh my, I have worked very hard to prepare them, now she is wasting them on useless things like this. Hearing him say this, Jin Hae-ri realizes something, let's see slowly. Wait a minute, 3 wishes? It's 3 wishes, why are you telling me this now? It doesn't count, everything I said is invalid, it doesn't count, please take back what I just said and grant me 2 other wishes, this can't happen, I didn't hear you say you would grant me a wish so please cancel it and give me back my wish, I said take it back. The deity is extremely frustrated, I can't take back what has happened, give her the book back and change my clothes. That's 2 wishes already, now she only has 1 left. Hearing this information, Jin Hae-ri is like being struck by lightning, she kneels down on the floor, extremely depressed, oh my god, no way, what have I done? These clothes are suffocating. Is her 3rd wish to change my outfit? Jin Hae-ri immediately struggles, no way, never, I will not use my 3rd wish for such a thing, oh my god, I can't believe I'm at the 3rd wish and completely wasted the previous 2 wishes, how can it be said to be my last wish? What should I wish for? Health? I am completely healthy, so it doesn't matter, beauty, I don't need that either. The deity is very frustrated listening to her babble, so he grumbles. Then do something, it's so suffocating. Oh, I know, about money, having a lot of money is the best, I feel like I can buy my parents a new house, hey, didn't you hear me say these clothes are so suffocating? Jin Hae-ri is still immersed in her own world, my 3rd wish is money, only 101, as soon as she says it, she realizes something is wrong and is very confused, what did I just say? Jin Hae-ri's whole body is trembling because of what she just said, the deity is also confused but naturally a coin appears from somewhere and falls onto the floor, Jin Hae-ri stares at the coin. It's a 101 coin, the 101 coin quietly lies on the floor, the space falls silent for a long time and then suddenly a loud scream erupts, no, give me 100 million won. The next morning at the gate of the apartment complex, the girls chat with each other before saying goodbye, hey, didn't you meet Jin Hae-ri this morning? I wanted to say goodbye to her in person but, while the 2 girls were chatting, Jin Hae-ri's voice echoed from afar. Junhee, Sara, are you 2 ready to go? Thanks for waiting for me. I'm late, Jin Hae-ri, oh my god, what's wrong with your eyes, have you been crying? Jin Hae-ri is shy because of her swollen eyes. Oh yes, the 2 girls thought she was sad about having to part ways so they immediately came to comfort her, don't be sad, we will definitely meet again. Hope that Muyang station will become famous, our Hae-ri will become a star then, we have to go now, you have my number right? If anything happens, feel free to confide in me. Jin Hae-ri is very happy with these 2 friends and smiles, sure, and also, don't cry alone. Oh my, Jin Hae-ri cried because she was so regretful. She lost 10 billion, oh my god, in the hotel room, the god was very uncomfortable with his clothes. Oh my, his hair is indeed lighter, but it doesn't look good at all. Looking at himself in the mirror with his new hair, the handsome guy sighed. 10 million in cash? How could she wish for such a large amount of money? She used to be, he thought as he summoned his divine flute. Oh my, is it because of time or reincarnation that her character has changed? Suddenly, the flute in the god's hand is gradually disappearing in the air. When he clenched his hand, there was nothing left in his hand. The god looked into the mirror for a while and muttered to himself that even if she changes, he will still protect her. She will definitely not have to sacrifice for him again. Like that time when the little girl met the heavily injured general by the river. Or another time, the fairy sacrificed herself to protect the war god in the thick smoke. Hurry up, run, war god, let me help you bandage. Are you okay, Ansamiro? Don't go to the battlefield anymore. You're hurt, my heart hurts, rather, yes rather, don't do that anymore. In a room, the sound of a woman's conversation echoed. Yes, Lee Ha-young is listening, I will be back as soon as I finish reading the script. Actress Lee Ha-young, in her elegant pajamas, was sitting on the bed talking on the phone. Whatever, but what? Suddenly, her eyebrows furrowed in anger. I can handle it myself, so stop that whining tone. I don't use drugs, I'm serious. I don't know what the other end of the line said, but this actress yelled in anger, shut up, even if you don't talk too much, I still know what to do. At the same time, the elevator dinged, signaling that it had arrived and the door was about to open. Jin Hae-ri stepped into the elevator and waited for the elevator door to close again. But just as the elevator door was about to close, a man's foot stepped in. Wait a minute, miss. The man stepped in and when he saw Jin Hae-ri, he seemed quite surprised. You are Jin Hae-ri, the supporting actress of the upcoming movie, right? Hearing him say her name, she was a bit surprised and startled. What? Let me introduce myself, I am Kong Min-woo, the manager of company responsible for producing the program. Hearing that, Jin Hae-ri quickly bowed and greeted, hello, sorry, I didn't recognize you earlier. The handsome guy smiled gently, haha, it's normal, you don't need to apologize so formally. This sweet smile also made Jin Hae-ri feel very comfortable, yes sir. The silver-haired manager asked again, did you find the audition difficult? Facing him, Jin Hae-ri was a bit worried but also nodded, yes. At this moment, the elevator started to go up. I just remembered, I didn't see any information about your representative. Upon being asked about her representative, Jin Hae-ri felt a bit awkward, not knowing how to respond. Most of Muyang Station scenes will be filmed in the suburbs soon, so you should quickly find a representative for yourself, she was reminded. Jin Hae-ri nodded in agreement, yes, sir. Then, I'll see you at the script reading session. The mention of the script reading session startled the girl, as she realized she had another one to prepare for thoroughly. Before leaving, the manager didn't forget to compliment her, among all the contestants, I liked your performance the best. Keep it up. The girl was flustered by the praise and blushed. He liked my performance the best? Wow, haha, how can I find a manager now? Moving between departments is really difficult. At that moment, in Jin Hae-ri's room, the TV was showing a steamy, romantic scene of a couple in the cold winter. With a beep, the scene switched to another channel broadcasting an exciting sports program. Another beep, and it changed to a movie of an unknown theme. The deity sat on the sofa, remote in hand, continuously flipping through channels, bewildered. The sentient tree had said that the TV is a machine that can show the world and other people's lives all day long and is very interesting and entertaining. At that time, Jin Hae-ri also returned to her room, used her card to unlock the password, and flung the door open. She stepped into the room and jumped when she saw the deity watching TV. Why are you rooted there? I have to check out this afternoon. Have you just been sitting there all day? Do you have to go? Where to? The deity inquired. Well, why should I tell you? I have to pack my things. I'm very busy. I need to find a representative and a personal manager for myself. I'm about to join a film crew. What is a representative manager? Oh my, even if I explain, you wouldn't understand. A representative is someone who arranges schedules, and a manager is someone who takes care of my personal responsibilities. Hearing this, the deity volunteered, then let me do it. Whatever you need, just tell me, and I will take care of it for you. This offer from the deity left Jin Hae-ri stunned. That sounds nice, but you haven't fulfilled any of my wishes. The man immediately retorted, I have granted you 3 wishes exactly as you requested. Hey, you said you wanted to become an actress, right? I will help you. Not even a bit of trust for me? Go play somewhere else. He suddenly leaned in close to Jin Hae-ri and said, I will stay by your side. I'm not going anywhere. The girl's face was filled with confusion. Oh no, another day swiftly passes by, starting with a cool atmosphere. At the script reading for the Muyang Tower film, the actors began to gather, preparing for the upcoming movie. Everyone met in a crowded hall and chatted noisily with each other. It seemed that everyone was quite familiar with each other since they all worked in the entertainment industry. Only Jin Hae-ri stood alone, feeling awkward as this was her first time participating in a film like this. The girl was unsure what to do next. Should she go and greet everyone and introduce herself? But she also feared being ignored because she was new. Just as Jin Hae-ri was silently resolving to greet everyone, someone appeared behind her, startling her because she didn't know when he had come up beside her. You've been practicing a lot, haven't you, Jin Hae-ri? Hearing the manager's inquiry, the girl's eyes sparkled. Yes, I've memorized all the lines already. Really? You are indeed an enthusiastic newcomer, just as expected. Hearing this, Jin Hae-ri shyly admitted, actually, in episode 1, I don't appear much, so I only have 2 lines. Suddenly, the manager pushed Jin Hae-ri forward and introduced her to the director. Director, this is Jin Hae-ri, the actress playing Guzulaji. Ah, Jin Hae-ri, were you standing behind? I was wondering where you were. I'm really looking forward to this collaboration with you, super excited. Facing the director's enthusiasm, Jin Hae-ri was a bit embarrassed but nodded, yes, sir. Writer Sumi, this is Jin Hae-ri, the girl playing Guzulaji. The manager introduced Jin Hae-ri, which made everyone very enthusiastic to come over, chat, greet, and congratulate her. Jin Hae-ri had never experienced this before, so she awkwardly greeted each person. While she was being introduced by the manager to everyone, the clacking sound of high heels approached along with a gentle voice apologizing, sorry, everyone, I'm late. Hello, I arrived a bit late because I had to receive gifts and snacks from fans. I hope you'll forgive me. The person who appeared was the radiant actress Lee Ha-young, along with her assistant carrying a huge pile of items. Lee Ha-young immediately ordered the assistant to put the pile of items down on the table right away. Meanwhile, everyone was astonished and buzzing about how Lee Ha-young even had fans sending her snacks, which was amazing. Tada! The boxes of delicately prepared pastries and sweets were opened, and these were the gifts that Lee Ha-young brought for everyone at their first meeting. She also affectionately reminded everyone not to forget to take the gifts from her manager before leaving. The beautiful actress smiled radiantly, hoping that she would receive a lot of help from everyone. Of course, no one feels uncomfortable starting with the sweet cake gifts. So, everyone was very happy to eat her cakes and were all in a very good mood. Suddenly, while Jin Hae-ri was chewing on a sweet cake, actress Lee Ha-young approached. You are Jin Hae-ri, right? She introduced herself. I am Lee Ha-young, the lead actress in our film. We play rivals in the film, but let's get along in real life, okay? Jin Hae-ri was a bit startled but also very happy. She smiled and replied, yes, I am also looking forward to this collaboration. I think I am a year older than you, so I will drop the formal language, okay? Jin Hae-ri was taken aback by this direct statement but smiled anyway. Ah, yes, please feel comfortable. After the greeting and meeting session, everyone started on the main topic of the day, which was to begin the script reading. Alright, before we start the reading, I want everyone to introduce themselves and their roles first, as a way to officially get acquainted with each other. The first to introduce himself was a man in a blue shirt. He is Kim Hyung-min, the assistant to the director. The girl in the blue shirt sitting next to him is the author Sunmi, who wrote the script for this movie. The lead male actor is Moon Do-hyuk, and with a role entangled with 2 girls, I hope everyone will not be prejudiced against him. The lead female actress is certainly Lee Ha-young, and she also promises to try her best to complete the role after a long tiring day. The script reading also came to an end. As soon as she stepped out into the lobby, Jin Hae-ri received a caring call from her mother asking how she could move all that luggage. The tired girl tried to reply that she would take a bus home. I may not have gotten the lead role, but I still have time to be on camera, so I need to read the script, Jin Hae-ri said. Mom, I just want you to live a normal life. Can't you go back to school and find a normal job like everyone else? Hearing her mother's nagging again, the tired girl sighed deeply. Before the daughter could continue, the mother on the other end of the line spoke at length about the troubles of signing a contract with a terrible company. It affected both her health and her studies, so she hoped the girl would give up her acting career. Hearing that, Jin Hae-ri's hand, which is pulling the suitcase, tightens. She thinks to herself that she doesn't want to give up at all, so she immediately replies to her mother, sorry, Mom, but I have to go now. Jin Hae-ri, you're already 26 years old. Come back here and enjoy a peaceful life with us. Remembering those words, the girl's lips tighten. She doesn't understand why her mother always wants her to give up when she is in such a difficult and challenging period. Her mood at this moment is really bad and also very tired. Perhaps what she needs is encouragement rather than advice to give up like that. Right in front of the main gate, manager Kang Min-woo is talking with him. He will be going to Seoul in 5 minutes. Tomorrow he will have to attend an important meeting in Seoul with the management, so he also needs to hurry on his way. Because he is so focused on talking, the manager doesn't notice that Jin Hae-ri has appeared next to him, and she is also looking at her phone, so she doesn't see him. The girl is fumbling with her phone, checking which bus to take to get to the bus station. Because there are so many things to carry and today is quite tiring, Jin Hae-ri's hands holding the phone are also slightly trembling. At this moment, suddenly the manager next to her calls her, making her jump, Jin Hae-ri, what are you doing here at this time? The girl smiles in response because everything was interrupted and she still has to clean her room. Because the room has been used a lot, Jin Hae-ri thinks that she should clean it up a bit before she leaves. Oh, I see. Anyway, where is your car? Don't you want to go to Seoul? Hearing this question, Jin Hae-ri is immediately confused. What, a car? She hesitates for a moment before understanding what the manager means, so Jin Hae-ri awkwardly smiles and says that she doesn't have a private car, so she has to go to the station to catch a bus. Seeing the manager silent, Jin Hae-ri adds that she also came here by bus. The manager contemplates for a moment and then immediately gives her a card and tells her to call a taxi based on that number. With so much luggage, call a taxi to go home. Jin Hae-ri is even more awkward to refuse. What? No need, I can take the bus. There are no buses running here. You will have to walk a very long distance to get to the bus stop. So let me take you to the bus stop. Actually, I can take you to Seoul. I'm also going there. This sudden suggestion makes Jin Hae-ri not know how to respond. The manager doesn't wait for her to speak and continues, my car has enough space for you to sit and I will drop you off at the subway station in Seoul. Feeling the sincere concern of the manager, the girl bows in thanks, but in the end, she still refuses because she thinks she can take care of herself. The manager is about to say something else, Jin Hae-ri immediately full of energy smiles. I'm fine, I also like to walk a lot so I don't find it difficult at all. Just as they are still chatting with each other, a sudden breaking sound from the side appears, making everyone startled. The luxurious white car brakes and from inside comes a hurried call, Jin Hae-ri. Hearing someone call her, both Jin Hae-ri and the manager are startled and turn to look, oh my god, who is that? That's the latest model car. The car door opens at this moment and a pair of legs with luxurious sports shoes step down. The person stepping down is the deity with a handsome killer look waving at her. Jin Hae-ri, what are you doing there? We need to go to Seoul, come on. Seeing his appearance, the girl is like being struck by lightning, gaping in surprise, what is this? Jin Hae-ri, do you know him? Hearing the manager ask, the girl stammers, no, I'm not that close to him, just occasionally. At this moment, the deity interrupts, what's wrong, I came at the right time, didn't I? I said I would help you in any situation, what's going on? Jin Hae-ri sighs to herself, the clear blue sky has a few clouds and it seems the sunlight is about to go out. On the highway, a luxurious white car is speeding toward Seoul. It's the car of the incense god who appeared earlier to pick up Jin Hae-ri. At this moment, sitting inside the car next to the driver's seat, Jin Hae-ri is dazed, recalling her farewell to manager Kong earlier. But why does she seem not very sober? Suddenly, the girl jolts and opens her mouth wide, where am I? What should I say? Then, the girl screams and turns to ask the god loudly, what is happening in this world? Where did you get this car? She said she needs a company and a manager, do I need a smaller truck to become her manager? And this car is a truck, right? His words make Jin Hae-ri extremely astonished, that's right, a truck is very good, it is more convenient when going to the film set or when wanting to rest, but wait a minute, do you have a driver's license? Hearing her whispering question, the god asks back, a driver's license? Oh, I don't have one, right? Driving without a license is a traffic violation. The guy there ponders and then replies, don't worry, he has some licenses that allow him to drive. Seeing that she is still worried, the guy reassures her, I told you not to worry too much, focus on your acting, I will take care of the rest. Staring intently at the handsome face in front of her, Jin Hae-ri can't trust him at all, what exactly is taking care of the rest in his mouth? She said she wants to become the most talented actress who can attract the whole world with their skills. So she has to focus on acting, from now on I will support her. So she can achieve the dreams she desires. The handsome god said while winking and letting go, his strange appearance makes Jin Hae-ri shudder. Oh my, you should look ahead when driving, don't turn here and do crazy things anymore. I'm fine, I'm a god, so I'm good at everything. After that, their journey begins to return to Seoul and turns into a certain neighborhood where Jin Hae-ri lives. The car drives into the alley in the residential area, attracting a lot of attention from the surrounding people, and because the car is too big compared to this alley, it has to stop at the head of the alley. Because this is a large, luxurious car, also a new model, so it attracts a lot of attention. The people around start to look and discuss the car, even passersby can't help but look away. Looking at that car. This situation makes Jin Hae-jin feel very unnatural. She wears a hat to hide her face and slowly gets out of the car. The god sees her standing there awkwardly and then urges her to give me your backpack. I'll hold it so you don't pant like that. Jin Hae-ri starts to worry and tells him that the car can't be parked here. If the car is parked randomly, it may be towed away. The god in front of her doesn't understand these rules at all, So he has to explain that if the car is parked randomly, it will be arrested by the police. So it can only be parked in a parking lot or places with prior regulations. The god finds these human laws very troublesome, but he gets in the car and signals Jin Hae-ri to go home first. Jin Hae-ri is still wondering why this god knows her home, but he has already driven away quickly. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but worry about where he would park the car, as upon reflection, he didn't seem entirely familiar with the way of life here. Yet now, he could drive so skillfully. Could this be the power of a deity? Suddenly, she remembered the conversation they had in the car when she asked where the car came from. He refused to answer and said it was a secret. Watching the car disappear into the distance, countless thoughts raced through Jin Hae-ri's mind, and perhaps he really was a deity. She knew she was the one who made that wish, but she never thought it would come true. As she pondered aimlessly, raindrops began to fall from the sky to the ground. The sudden change in weather took Jin Hae-ri by surprise. Oh my goodness, it's raining, pouring down. Before she could react, she was drenched by the heavy rain. Oh no, it's pouring. Why so suddenly? Jin Hae-ri was at a loss for what to do now, as standing here would get her completely wet. After waiting for a while, she immediately set off to find shelter from the rain. Just as she was about to run for cover, a hand appeared and grabbed her arm. Wait a minute, Jin Hae-ri heard someone call her by that name. She turned around to find an umbrella over her head. The deity, appearing out of nowhere, held the umbrella over her and gently asked, I told you to go back first, so why are you standing here getting all wet? Jin Hae-ri, once again astonished, looked at the umbrella and asked the deity, could it be that you knew it would rain? The handsome, confident man smiled and nodded. Of course, but let's put that aside for now. It's getting cold, let's go home, the rain is getting heavier. But now that Jin Hae-ri had an umbrella, things weren't so bad, right? The two of them walked back to the apartment, which was quite old, though the rent was quite cheap. After entering the house, Jin Hae-ri suggested she needed to change clothes because she was soaking wet, but then she noticed that the man's clothes were completely dry. Could this be the power of a deity? She stared at him in amazement, so the deity asked, what's the matter, why are you staring like that? Jin Hae-ri couldn't help but feel his clothes. How strange, your clothes are completely dry. I know you have powers, but how can your clothes be dry like this when it's pouring outside? Because such things cannot stay on me, he replied. Do you see? How can my valuable and precious body get wet? The deity said, smiling smugly. Oh, so that's why you stopped by my room when I hit you. Ah, that is. So, do you have a name, or what should I call you, deity? The sudden question left the deity unsure of how to respond, so he just nodded. Hae-ri, opening the bathroom door, called back, we'll be living together from today, so it's a bit difficult to call you since I don't know your name. What is it? My name is Ansamiro. Hearing this name, Jin Hae-ri's hand, about to open the door, suddenly stopped, and she froze, turning around in shock. What? Ansamiro? That's your name, Ansamiro? Yes, you can call me that from now on, the deity murmured to himself, call me by that name, for it is the name you gave me. In the past, after a long night of thought, the girl had given the deity the name Ansamiro, and they were both happy with it, as it seemed like fate. Sorry, but what was that, about? Jin Hae-ri suddenly asked, is it Ansamiro, right? The boy nodded, yes, my name is Ansamiro. This peculiar name made Jin Hae-ri start to ponder. Your name has 4 syllables. Is your surname An or Ansi? Your name is quite long. Can I call you Ansi? What? Ansi? Upon hearing this question, the deity reacted quite vehemently. He shouted, no, call me by my full name, Ansamiro. Don't shorten it like that. What about Miro? It sounds better than Ansi, right? What a strange name. Don't shorten my name anymore. Call the whole thing. Why are you trying to nickname me as you please? Let's not argue about your name anymore. I'll use the bathroom first. After saying this, Jin Hae-ri slammed the door shut, leaving the fuming deity standing outside. After a long while, the bathroom door opened again. Jin Hae-ri had washed off all the dirt and grime from a tiring day. She poked her head out of the bathroom and asked in confusion, why are you still sitting there? Haven't you left yet? Ansamiro, his eyes glued to the TV, replied that he said he would stay by her side, so why would he need to go anywhere else? But why don't you pay attention to me when we talk? Stop looking at the TV. It doesn't matter, but isn't there anywhere else you can stay? This is a one-room apartment, so there's only this room. Jin Hae-ri hesitantly began to explain, just one room? Is there only one room here? Hearing the question, Jin Hae-ri replied impatiently, yes, that's right. I know I'm responsible for arranging a place for you, but I can't just yet. Of course, when I get the money, I will immediately get you another room, but for now, it's a bit difficult. Sorry about that. Can you stay somewhere else? As she spoke, she looked up at the man in front of her, only to find that he had disappeared. Jin Hae-ri panicked and looked around. What the heck? Where did he go now? This situation made Jin Hae-ri very angry. He disappeared again? Just great, I was still talking to him, you know. At least say something before you leave, right? Sitting on the rooftop of the building opposite. Looking into that room, the deity kept sighing. She feels uncomfortable with him there, but goodness, she's so noisy. Does she only have one room for herself? And does she still have to pay rent every month? Hearing a call from inside the room, the deity grunted, "Ha, exactly, now she's calling for me again." She even forgot the name she had given herself. Ansamiro, annoyed, turned and flopped down on the floor. Life in the past means nothing to modern people. They won't even remember things that once existed, right? Time has passed so much that it will blur everything. The whole world has changed. How could she remember if she has been reincarnated? But I can't forget. Ansamiro gazed up at the sky under the dim sunset, wondering which year or month it was, future or past, above the heavenly court with its splendid, luxurious, and magical palaces. A general, covered in wounds, leading his soldiers, appeared before the Jade Emperor to report their victory. We have received orders from the Jade Emperor and have successfully defeated the monsters invading other worlds through the flow of the river Styx. The dignified Jade Emperor nodded in approval. You have done very well. I will grant you a great reward for this achievement. You must be tired from the battle with those despicable demons, so take some rest. The boy replied, expressing his honor at receiving praise from His Majesty, but for some reason, his hands clenched as if holding back something. After a fierce night with the Jade Emperor, the supreme deity of heaven, his mother had passed away, giving birth to him for the emperor. At the age of 8, he arranged the things that my mother left for me. After going through countless hardships, I went to heaven to meet him. Even after killing a bunch of demons and achieving great accomplishments to become a war god, he still couldn't call him father. Now everything feels empty. The scene then shifts to Wool Palace. The sound of breaking and screaming echoes. Can't I accept this? How could he tell me to marry such a coward? I may have grown up in the palace, but I am still a goddess. I always dream of reaching heaven, but why give me a spouse who is a war god from earth? As this fairy was screaming, a man appeared and said, if you hate it that much, just refuse me. The woman turned around and looked at the man who was coming and asked, who are you? I am the war god that you mentioned. At the request of the Jade Emperor, I came to meet you, Darien of Wool Palace. Looking at the young man in front of her, the woman's eyes were full of disgust. Is this the brat? She looked at him with her venomous snake eyes. Ha, you are really rude. If you want to meet me, you should send a notice in advance. How can you barge in here with the reason being the request of the Jade Emperor? The young man heard this and replied, I have sent someone to notify you several times. Don't you know what is appropriate? You can't just send a male soldier to deliver a message to a goddess like me. No matter what happens, I will not accept this marriage. But if I disobey the king, I will also be kicked out of the palace. So why are you behaving like this? The girl gritted her teeth and asked the young man to withdraw from this marriage and tell the king that he wants to marry someone else. The war god heard this and shook his head. I can't do that. This attitude irritated her even more, making her frown. What did you say? Seeing that the conversation could not continue, the war god turned around and left. He replied that he could not lie to the king. He would return today, so please let him know what she plans to do from now on. The goddess was furious and stunned at these words, while the war god quickly left. The palace once again fell into a strange silence. After a long time, one day, the war god sat by the stream with his bamboo flute and the melodious sound of his flute. Suddenly there was a rustling sound of someone's footsteps. Although the distance was quite far, because he was a god, the war god could still hear clearly that someone was approaching. Immediately, he turned around and shouted loudly, who is lurking there? Come out here for me. Behind the rock, the figure of a girl with long hair heard this and jumped, but she had been discovered and had no other way. The beautiful fairy poked her head out awkwardly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, I was just attracted by your flute sound so I came here. The handsome war god looked at the naive girl who had just appeared. That night at the residence of the war god, a quiet palace in the dark among the clouds, a guard immediately entered to report that Hanrakung, the supervisor of the Siakian flower garden, had arrived. With the permission of the war god, the soldier immediately called the flower god to enter. Immediately, the flower god performed a ceremony and introduced to the war god that he was the person in charge of managing and protecting the flower fields in Siakian. The war god was silent, but after a while he turned around and shouted loudly, Why did you let a girl work in the field wandering by the river? What if a demon appears? The flower god immediately bowed his head. If it was due to his negligence, he had been off guard, and nothing had happened for a while, so he would accept any punishment from the war god. The atmosphere between the two became silent again. The war god said that he did not want to scold anyone. He just wanted the flower god to know that there would be regret if things were too late. One must be vigilant and not neglect anyone approaching that river. The flower god bowed again. Sir, I fully understand your concerns. But the reason she came to the river was to care for the wounded monsters in heaven. She was worried that they would be harmed by dark forces and disappear if she did not dare to help them. The flower god's explanation left the war god completely astonished. Care for the monsters in heaven? Is she one of the children working in the flower fields? The flower god was puzzled by the war god's question but quickly replied, indeed, she is one of the nameless children there. However, a decade ago, she found a great general collapsed by the river Styx after a battle with evil demons. She was forced to stay here because she dared to touch the Siekian flowers while trying to save that general. That is why she came to watch over the wounded animals. A general collapsed by that river? Hearing this, the war god's eyes filled with amazement as if remembering something. His legs trembled, nearly losing balance. He looked at the flower god and asked again. And has she been there from before until now? The flower god immediately sighed. It is indeed a grave sin to touch those flowers there without heaven's permission, even if it is used to save a wounded individual without considering the consequences. The girl, then a small and beautiful child, tried to reach for the precious branches containing magical power. She then used those branches to try to heal the unconscious war god. In a simple straw house next to the edge of the forest near that heavenly river, the gentle girl from the flower god's story was now sitting down, gazing at the night sky. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew by, along with something in the sky that caught her attention. The girl quickly crouched and looked up at the beautiful night sky with the Milky Way. The Milky Way is so beautiful today, and the fairies are out playing too. The beautiful and magical sight before her delighted the girl. Watching the fairies dance through the clouds, she guessed that the fairies were dancing on the stars. Oh, their figures are so beautiful, how free they seem, she thought wistfully, wishing she could quickly become a fairy. She also wanted to glide on the clouds and enjoy with everyone, to send down drizzle to the mortal world in spring and a cool breeze with falling snow in winter. The galaxy from this angle is so beautiful and vast, who knows how many planets like Earth and heavens there are out there. A moment later, in the blink of an eye, the figures of the fairies disappeared again, and the girl was disappointed that she could not see them due to the distance being too far. Suddenly at this moment, a voice rings out behind her. Ha, you rushed here because they said you were very remorseful for your actions. The voice and the appearance of the war god right behind her make the girl extremely startled. Looking at the girl in front of him, the war god asks, what has made you so infatuated and emotional? For some reason, the girl feels scared in front of the war god and frowns in response. I saw a banknote passing by and my friends, they have all become fairies. The war god is puzzled by this answer. Your friends have become fairies? I am very remorseful. I promise I will not eavesdrop and bother you anymore when you are playing the flute, sir. I will be careful, so please forgive me. The next question from the war god surprises the girl again. He asked if you are really the child who saved the general before? Hesitating in her memories for a few seconds, the girl nods firmly. Yes, it was me who saved him. The war god sighs. It's really a burden for me not knowing my benefactor for so long. It's a relief that finally, I know. Looking at the girl in front of him, the war god explains that the general who was on the verge of death at that time was him, and it has been too long for him to recognize her immediately. I am alive today thanks to you, so I want to send the most sincere thanks. But it seems that this truth has scared the girl in front of him, making her scream out, Huh? You are the great general? I'm sorry. I also didn't recognize it. If you hadn't said, but now you're okay, right? The wound was very serious then. It's all okay now, and thanks to someone I was promoted to the war god. I know it's been a long time, but if you want anything to thank for saving me, just say it. I will meet all you want. The girl hears this and is immediately overjoyed. Anything? And she expresses her wish to be able to take care of the animals here as she is currently doing. Seeing the war god puzzled, the flower god next to him interrupts. Hey girl, you're making him shy. Ask for something else. The girl starts to be awkward again, not knowing what to say, because that is the only wish she can think of. At this moment, looking into the cold, deep eyes of the war god in front of her, the girl gathers all her courage to express her thoughts. I promise I won't cause any trouble for you anymore, so please let me stay here to take care of the animals, please. And then the beautiful flowers bloom again on the flower field next to the mysterious and magical river. The lovely girl finally gets her wish with the job of a gardener and animal caretaker, grow fast, little flowers. That way, you can help people cure all kinds of diseases. Walking through the beautiful flower garden, the girl takes a deep breath and smiles contentedly because the fragrance here is really fragrant. Standing on a high tower nearby, the war god saw the figure of a girl in the flower garden. His eyes were calm, not knowing what he was thinking about. The girl below had no idea that someone was watching her and was still happily playing and helping her friends. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps approaching made the war god glance over. The flower god who guards the flower garden came over and bowed to ask, "What strange wind brought the war god here?" The war god, as taciturn as ever, coldly replied that he just intended to pass by. The flower god also sensed something and advised, "If a heavenly god often visits this place, I'm afraid that bad rumors will start to spread. That child might soon ascend to become a fairy, so the flower god also hopes the war god will be careful from now on." Ascend to become a fairy? Those who ascend to become fairies will live in heaven, but due to certain regulations, they are prohibited from building relationships with other gods. Fairies only assist goddesses or fly across the Milky Way, happily singing and dancing while creating rain and snow to descend to the mortal world, as long as they do not commit serious crimes. They even have the opportunity not to fall into reincarnation. Looking at the happy girl in front of him, the war god asked, "Are you happy now that your wish has come true?" The girl heard someone asking her and immediately turned around to find it was the war god. Immediately, she happily approached and enthusiastically told her story. "You are here just in time, I wanted to meet you." "You want to meet me, what's the matter?" The girl seemed mysterious and laughed. "I just collected something very precious, aren't you curious to see what it is?" The war god felt strange and immediately shook his head intending to turn around and leave. "No, I'm not curious at all." Wait a minute, don't go. I picked up a shooting star while walking last night." The girl said and took out a gem of the deep ocean color, extremely precious and mysterious. "Yes, it's a shooting star. The energy of the shooting star will help avoid demons and evil spirits. Didn't the war god get hurt when fighting with that kind of demon? She will give it to him and ask him to always carry it with him for self-protection." Looking at this gift, the war god was once again dumbfounded. He is a war god, even if he is called the greatest war god in heaven, he is always a lonely person who is despised for his low origin. But this girl doesn't seem to care about that at all, which warms the originally cold heart of the war god. He couldn't help but immediately bent down to hug her. The sudden hug made the girl extremely startled and blushed. "Sir war god, what's the matter?" The war god smiled. "It's okay, I just want to thank you, I am touched by your kindness, thank you for giving me such a precious gift. I will not forget even if you become a fairy or turn into something else, I will not reincarnate again." The scene shifted to the mortal world where Jean Hae-ri lives, in her old apartment, in her room. I don't know what time it is, but Jean Hae-ri is still focusing on the pile of scripts she just received on the table. After a while, her unintentional gaze at the phone made her realize, oh, look at the time, it turns out she was so focused on the script that she didn't realize it was dinner time. But what should I eat now? That's right, since she passed the interview and got the role, she should reward herself with a feast, right? Decided, fried chicken, Jean Hae-ri happily quickly ordered food, and it seems that the delivery service in this neighborhood is still very fast when only about 15 minutes later the hot food was delivered to the door, a box with delicious, crispy fried chicken legs, a can of Coke, and pancham to go with it. The fragrant aroma was delightful, making Jean Hae-ri extremely pleased. It had been a long time since she had eaten chicken, hadn't it? Today would be a stress-relieving session, indeed, but there was also Aunt Sumiro to consider. Although she had escaped from him all day long, it was thanks to him that she could return home safely, so she couldn't just ignore him. Therefore, Jean Hae-ri called out into the air, Aunt Sumiro. The deity heard her call and suddenly appeared in the blink of an eye, looking at the pile of food on the table with curiosity. What are you calling me for? Why are you calling me like that? Is something wrong? Jean Hae-ri, slightly embarrassed and awkward, said, would you like to try some of this? What is it? This is chicken that has been fried. We call it fried chicken. Try a bit. You've had a hard day. Aunt Sumiro was immediately attracted to the chicken leg because of its delicious smell. Taking the fragrant chicken leg from her hand, he said, all right then. If you insist like that, I will try a bit. Despite his haughty demeanor, Jean Hae-ri was still very happy, smiling. Enjoy your meal. I look forward to working with you in the future. Then Jean Hae-ri prepared to enjoy her chicken leg, while the deity also tasted the chicken leg in his hand. Before Jean Hae-ri could react, Aunt Sumiro snatched the box of chicken legs from the table. The box of chicken legs fell into his hands, leaving Hae-ri dumbfounded. Afterward, he was like a bottomless pit, quickly devouring the box of chicken legs. In that instant, Jin Hae-ri was shocked and confused. It took her a while to regain her composure. Frowning, she questioned, "Excuse me, but I haven't had a single bite yet." Oh my, in the blink of an eye, the box of chicken was empty, not a single piece left. The deity smiled contentedly. "Why is it so incredibly good?" "Hey, you can't eat all of that by yourself. What about me? That's my chicken." Seeing her suddenly get angry, Ansamiro, not understanding, replied, "But you told me to eat first." "Oh my, I meant we should eat together." "Who told you to eat all of that? Get out of here right now, get out of here immediately." Of course, the war deity had already eaten the entire box of chicken legs, so she had to order another box. After eating until her stomach was full and her eyes were drooping, Jin Hae-ri fell asleep on the table, soundly. Ansamiro, puzzled, looked at the girl and wondered if she was sleeping. Oh my goodness, she just fell asleep right here. He thought it strange, but she had said she had a difficult life. Yet, she was always calm and unusually optimistic. However, it would be very uncomfortable and not good for her body if she continued to sleep in that position. The war deity thought this and immediately stood up. His hand began to use magic, thinking he should take her somewhere more comfortable. Under Ansamiro's control, Jin Hae-ri's body slowly floated up into the air, magically. While using magic, the war deity sighed and whispered to himself that she should know this was a special reward from him. "You deserve this, girl." Afterward, Jin Hae-ri was gently lifted and placed down on her soft bed. Looking at the beautiful girl sleeping soundly on the bed, the war deity silently wished her sweet dreams. Then, he suddenly vanished from the room, reappearing on the rooftop of a skyscraper in the city. Once again, observing the city of humanity at night, the war deity couldn't help but sigh. It's surprising how bright the lights are at night, but because they are so bright, he can no longer see the Milky Way and the stars. The deep eyes of Ansamiro looked up to the high blue sky as if seeing the heaven where he once lived, at some point in the flow of time in the past. This is the Siekian flower garden, home to the flower god and the fairies. At this moment, the girl who once saved the war deity, now a fairy, sat pondering because she would soon have to leave heaven, yet she felt truly uncomfortable. Suddenly, at this moment, another fairy burst in through the door, shouting urgently, "Sister, trouble has arisen. Evil spirits have escaped from the lower world and are burning the flower garden." What's happening? The god of war and his army were already fighting them, but the resistance was fierce. The wicked monsters once again launched an attack on heaven and the flower garden. Hearing that the war deity and the flower garden were in danger, the fairy was struck as if by lightning, her mouth agape. Outside the pavilion, the air was now filled with the evil spirit's aura and the relentless flames of magic continuously burning the flower garden. The leader of the evil spirits was a giant serpent, incessantly spewing magical flames and its sharp, venomous fangs. The soldiers were trying to resist with the war deity, but the situation seemed very dangerous, and everyone needed to hold on until reinforcements arrived. In the critical situation, the war deity immediately shouted orders to the soldiers to quickly extinguish the fire in the flower garden, while he would take care of the demon. But when actually facing the giant monster before him, the war deity still shuddered in horror for a moment. Because he was certain that the protective barrier was still there, but why were the monsters appearing here, or was someone deliberately destroying the protective barrier? Nevertheless, this was very strange, and something was happening. The war deity's shield-bearing hands clenched tightly, struggling to resist, facing the giant monster like a fiery serpent, not knowing when the reinforcements would arrive. In that dangerous moment, suddenly a voice rang out, startling the war god. "Sir, I have found a war horse for you." The fairy appeared with the war horse, charging through the fierce flames to the war god's side. "Here is the war horse, so please run quickly, Sir War God." The fairy was extremely worried, hastily urging. Seeing her figure appear, the war god was extremely worried, loudly questioning why she was there and to quickly leave. But the beautiful fairy completely ignored him and only tried to advise the war god because he had been seriously injured. "You have to take care of yourself first. Go quickly," the war god shouted. "I have been exposed to poison, so please, no matter what you intend, just go." In the blink of an eye, they were both worried about each other. Because they were distracted, the poisonous snake seized the opportunity to circle behind the fairy and suddenly attack. But luckily, she discovered it. Her eyes full of seriousness opened wide, staring at the monster. Then she used her whole body to shield the war god, protecting him with a panicked scream of, "No!" The weak body of the fairy suddenly emitted a miraculous light, causing the war god to also have to cover his eyes and not be able to look directly. Is this the light from heaven? But how can? At this moment, he realized something. Looking at the girl and the monster in front of him, this situation made the war god feel terrible, so his eyes widened in disbelief. A sound of tearing came from the miraculous waves of energy. The war god could only shout in despair, "No way," as if he recognized his fate. The fairy also turned her face to look back at the war god and smiled, but her eyes shed 2 lines of tears. The war god was completely terrified by this situation. People say that fairies emit a brilliant light before they die, a light strong enough to repel evil creatures. And at this moment, the body of the fairy in front of the war god was also gradually becoming faint, as if about to disappear. The beautiful fairy was smiling but also shedding tears. "Sir, I?" Her hands gently held the bloody face of the war god, intending to say something, but before she could speak, after a gust of wind blew, the girl completely disappeared into the air, leaving only sparkling dust particles. No way, the war god now seemed like a soulless person, having gone through a severe shock and not yet calm, again looking at the remaining dust particles floating in front of him. They say that when you become a fairy, there are certain things you must do, like flying through the galaxy to faraway places to create rain and snow, even sleeping in the clouds. On the rock wall, next to the magical river, both the monster and the fairy had disappeared, leaving only the war god and the war horse and the sound of painful howling from the bottom of his heart. No way, as if in a fit of uncontrollable rage, he couldn't control himself. The war god continuously used his spear to stab hard into the ground, causing it to shatter. The support soldiers immediately came to his side and rushed to stop him, begging him not to do that. "Don't do that." The soldier realized what the war god intended to do, so he immediately advised that he should not do that because anyone who goes to hell without permission will be cruelly punished. But in return, his advice is a scream to shut up. He, the war god, ignores the advice from the soldiers and just asks back, "Do you know what will happen to the child who dies because of me? After death, she will become the bride of a dead king, a king in the 10 palaces of Yama, the king of death, also known as the death god. She will become the bride of the 10th king, who lives in the darkest and coldest place." The more the war god speaks, the more he uses his spear to stab straight into the ground. "I will go and bring that child back here." Hearing the war god say this, the soldiers are even more scared because the laws in heaven and hell will definitely be different. "So, please calm down quickly. It's the first time I've seen someone go to hell by digging," but thanks to his magical strength, the war god finally dug a deep tunnel and immediately jumped down. Hell in this world is a space deep underground, dark and without sunlight. This is the place where souls return after they no longer have physical life. At this moment, in a room somewhere in a sudden building in hell, there is a dim light, quite warm, a beautiful girl with a gorgeous outfit as if about to perform some ceremony. Suddenly, it is the sad but meticulously made-up face of the fairy who just sacrificed herself to protect that war god. At this time, the war god has also entered the palace of the 5th king to meet him. The king with a cold face looks at the war god and says, "What? You want me to release the fairy girl who just died because of that big snake?" Saying this, he couldn't help but laugh sarcastically. "Haha, war god, heaven, you've been looking for me for so long that it makes me laugh. That child died because of me, even though she died in Seokian, but she is a fairy of heaven. We must go to meet Cheon-il-sung and discuss her fate further. I beg you, just let that girl go. I am ready to do anything you say, even if it is 1,000 or no, 10,000 years, please just that child." The 5th king pondered for a while then turned and left. "It's too late, the 10th king has been waiting for his bride for a long time so I can't ignore his hope and stop the wedding. Go back, war god, I will act as if nothing has happened so please go back." The war god heard this, then pondered and gradually stood up, his face bowed down so that no one could see his expression. "I cannot accept this." Upon hearing the furious shout of the war god, the 5th king turned back in horror. The war god began to use his magic and coldly declared, "Do you think I came here without the Jade Emperor's permission? If you refuse to return the child, I intend to take it back myself." The incantation began to be chanted. "Listen to me, army of the gods, I, the war god of heaven, command you to appear immediately." And he ordered them to bring back the 10th king's fiancée to heaven. Following the summoning spell, all kinds of divine beasts from unicorns to phoenixes and the soldiers of the god appeared in the underworld. Their appearance caused a strong shock, leaving the 5th king of the underworld in panic. "What is this? You dare summon the army of the gods here?" the 5th king of the underworld shouted in disbelief. "Have you lost your mind, war god?" Faced with the questioning, the war god emitted a cold murderous aura. "Even now, it's not too late. Bring the child here, or I won't stop this." The 5th king of the underworld shouted in angry helplessness, "You are insane, war god. Some time later, in the heavenly realm with the splendid heavenly palace, the Jade Emperor sat on his dragon throne, his hands trembling with rage. You dare cause chaos in the underworld without my permission? I did not grant you the title of war god to do such wicked deeds. Explain yourself. Facing the Jade Emperor's volcanic fury was the war god, silently kneeling on the floor, bound. Ha! Seeing your silent face, you must realize the severity of your crime, right? The Jade Emperor, with a headache, rubbed his temples and sighed. He decreed that from now on, the war god would be stripped of his title. This outcome slightly surprised the war god, but it seemed not beyond his expectations of the consequences for his actions. The Jade Emperor did not wait for a response but continued to order, you should have been thrown into the abyss by now, but you have also achieved many victories. Therefore, he would imprison the war god in an incense burner in the mortal world. When humans light that incense burner, the war god must fight in their battles and endure bleeding wounds throughout his punishment. As for the army of the god, you too must suffer punishment in the incense burner with the war god. Hearing that all his soldiers would be punished, the young man could no longer stay calm and shouted loudly, Your Majesty, when the war ends, I will seek you out if you do not come to your senses. After 1,000 years, you will all dissipate. The Jade Emperor, indifferent to any pleas, imprisoned them all in the incense burner. Your Majesty, at least please forgive my army. They were just following orders. Before the god of war could say more, under the magical power of the Jade Emperor, he fell to the floor. Then, he turned into a wisp of smoke slowly sucked in by a strange incense burner. After everything was done, the Jade Emperor was lost in thought, not knowing what he was contemplating. He remembered the soldier's report that the 10th god in his rage had caused a commotion and demanded the head of the god of war. A while later, the soldiers following orders brought a female soul from the underworld to meet the Jade Emperor in the palace. A soldier stepped forward to explain that this fairy had lost all memories of the Siakian flower garden. Now, she is a soul with no senses, and under the magic of the Jade Emperor, she also turned into a beam of light entering the cycle of reincarnation. The condition for this child to become a fairy again is that she must be reincarnated as a human 10 times, and if she gives up life 3 times in these 10 times, she will be permanently banished to the underworld. The eyes of the Jade Emperor looked at the vast world and sighed that this was the best he could do. This is the best I can do for you, endure the humiliation, bear it, and come back, my son. Under the mortal realm, the god of war, after 1,000 years of reincarnation, is looking at the splendid city under his feet. The god, now in the clothes of an ordinary person with short hair, is contemplating something. Suddenly at this moment, a beam of light appeared out of nowhere with 7 colors of the rainbow, sparkling and flying around the god, and circling in front of him. Boom, the beam of light turned into a mischievous-faced child in ancient clothes. This is the heavenly firecracker Zhang Jik, Tada, a strange child appeared from the magical firecracker. The god of war, Ansamiro, calmly looked at the kid and asked if he was Jik. The kid flew around for a while, landed, and nodded, yes, I am Jik. Oh my, it's annoying, why are you like this? Now your divine power has returned. So go up to heaven. Faced with the kid's question, Ansamiro thought for a while and then answered, it's not time yet, it's not time yet, it's really nonsense. The kid thought to himself and then opened his mouth to say that she doesn't remember anything about her past life, because she has been reincarnated so many times, how can she recognize you? The kid's words made the god Ansamiro angry. You are too noisy, how did I ask you about this? The kid was talking while slowly pulling out a mirror to look at himself. It seems he was admiring his own beauty in the mirror. Oh my, how cute, why do I look so cute? Seeing that the kid was not focused at all, the god had to pull out his body, the divine flute, intending to break it, which scared the kid to death. Oh my. What the hell are you doing? Okay, you can see a person's life in advance when you are in heaven, but you can't hear. There is only one way to see it in this world, that is, you have to go to Yabjiangdi in Jijiangjan at midnight and from there go down to the underworld. Hearing the kid's suggestion, Ansamiro smiled faintly. Immediately Ansamiro hugged the kid, looked at him and said that he would succeed if he was willing to go there, which scared the kid to death. What? I'm going there? I don't want to. Remember, if I meet a Wudunakal or Madunakal, what should I do? I will die. What are you afraid of? Just run. See, the 3 wishes of Jin Hei-ri have come true. It's already great. Why is it my fault? As you said, they have come true. Ahaha, you are too much. The kid turned into a rainbow and flew away, and the god of war wondered which cycle of reincarnation she was in, so he had to find out if she had committed suicide in which life. Another night passed, with each ray of sunlight shining through the window into the warm room. Jin Hei-ri was awakened by the dazzling sunlight, looked around in a daze. She hurriedly reached for her phone and wondered to herself when she had fallen asleep. But through the reflection of the phone, seeing her sleepy face, Jin Hae-ri was so shocked that she widened her eyes. She screamed in pain, "Why is my face so swollen?" Immediately, the girl ran into the bathroom to clean her face and tried to reduce the swelling. "Oh my god, I'm going crazy, no matter how many there are, it's not enough." After a while of trying, Jin Hae-ri tiredly dragged her body out of the bathroom. It's unbelievable that it's only the first day and her diet has already been interrupted. Looking at the pile of food on the floor, she desperately wondered when she had ordered 3 more boxes of fried chicken. She also drank too much beer, way too much. Just as she was feeling desperate, the phone rang on the table. She quickly picked it up and someone on the other end asked if she was busy or had any plans for the afternoon. Jin Hae-ri quickly replied that she was free and nodded in agreement. "I understand, I will be on time. It turns out that there is a dinner at the company with the cast of the new movie and it will start at 6 o'clock. So she has to prepare from now on. Time waits for no one." The sunset quickly descended on the world. At a restaurant famous for its grilled pork, the male lead actor, whose name she couldn't remember, greeted Jin Hae-ri as she approached. "Oh, you're here, aren't you? You're Jin Hae-ri, right?" Jin Hae-ri, dressed in a neat and dynamic outfit like a schoolgirl, shyly nodded her head. "Yes, hello. Thank you for inviting me. I'm not late, am I?" "No problem. We arrived early." "Oh, and Jin Hae-ri, that seat is Lee Ha-young's. If you don't mind, could you move to the empty seat over there? Just go straight and order food." The dishes, especially the grilled pork, were being served straight to the table, emitting a strong aroma. But because a table can only seat a few people, Jin Hae-ri had to sit alone, watching everyone chatting loudly, happily with each other. Just as she was feeling out of place, a middle-aged actor sitting next to her smiled and introduced himself. "Nice to meet you. This is our first meeting, right? I play the role of Guzulaji's mother. Junior, please take care of me, I will do my best." A while later, the restaurant door was opened again. The actress Lee Ha-young appeared with her cold face and short hair. "Hello, I'm here." Everyone was very excited to see the main character appear. "Welcome, it's nice to meet you, let's all try our best." Even Jin Hae-ri was attracted by her beauty and charisma. Because Lee Ha-young really shone, everyone welcomed Lee Ha-young very warmly and prepared the most comfortable seat for her, making her also smile happily. Lee Ha-young was silently very annoyed. She respected them as seniors, but they spoke without using honorifics, which was very rude. At that moment, Jin Hae-ri also greeted Lee Ha-young with a sweet smile. Seeing her, Lee Ha-young immediately rushed over, very happy. "Oh, Jin Hae-ri, did you arrive before me? I want to sit next to Hae-ri. We could become closer than just rivals. Should we take a commemorative photo with all the female roles in the Muyang Tower movie?" After that, the two of them took a friendly photo together. The party started with delicious grilled dishes that made everyone's stomach growl. Dealing with such parties made Lee Ha-young a bit tired, so she turned to chat with the girl next to her. "Jin Hae-ri, are you not busy?" Seeing Jin Hae-ri's puzzled look, Lee Ha-young explained that she just wanted to ask if Jin Hae-ri had any other work. "Oh, currently, I am only focusing on this movie." Hearing this, Lee Ha-young smiled. "Really? My schedule is packed. I almost couldn't make it today." Seeing the two girls chatting happily, everyone was amazed at how close they could be. But suddenly, some idiot interrupted. He said he felt a bit regretful because he thought Lee Ha-young suited the role of Guzulaji better. This indelicate remark also stunned Jin Hae-ri, wondering if someone else would interrupt again. "That's right, the role of a sanyo is supposed to be innocent." These words really angered Lee Ha-young, darkening her face as she questioned, "What did you just say?" The man from earlier realized his mistake and hurriedly tried to fix it. But Lee Ha-young, angry, slammed her glass down on the table. "The roles have already been decided. If you feel regretful, go tell the producers." "No, that's not it, I'm sorry if I ruined your mood." Jin Hae-ri, sitting next to her, didn't dare to say a word, looking at the tense atmosphere. "It's okay. No matter what role they give me, I just need to work hard and do well. I will do so well that they will think I am truly Guzulaji. After all, actual ability is what's important. Just need to do well." While Jin Hae-ri was thinking, suddenly Lee Ha-young hugged her tightly and said, "The atmosphere here is terrible. Let's try our best together. Alright, let's raise our glasses for the national premiere." Finally, the party went smoothly, and by midnight, it was time for everyone to go home. The drunken director also waved goodbye to Jin Hae-ri and told her to get home safely. Jin Hae-ri knew she was a rookie, so she tried to maintain a good image. She greeted everyone before she planned to leave. At that moment, a luxurious car suddenly drove by and stopped in front of her. The car window lowered, revealing the actress Lee Ha-young inside. She waved at Jin Hae-ri and told her to remember to go home safely. "See you next time," she said. "Okay, goodbye then," Jin Hae-ri replied. She was about to leave, but noticed the car wasn't moving. Lee Ha-young glanced at the driver coldly and asked, "Why aren't we leaving?" The driver nodded hastily in agreement. However, he wondered why she didn't offer Jin Hae-ri a ride. The window closed, and the car started moving. Now, Lee Ha-young didn't need to smile or talk anymore. She leaned back, exhausted, almost to the point of death. She had some free time, so she browsed her phone to see if there was any news about her. It was either bad luck or good fortune when a photo of Lee Ha-young and Jin Hae-ri, posted earlier, received a lot of attention online. However, the comments advised Jin Hae-ri to stay away from Lee Ha-young, warning her not to be deceived and sold. Some even discussed how Lee Ha-young had bought the lead actress role along with the company, deceiving all the other auditionees. Reading this news, Lee Ha-young frowned in anger. What the hell is this? Since it was quite late, and she couldn't catch a ride, and also because she was close to home, Jin Hae-ri decided to walk back. But the road was deserted, not a soul in sight, and all the lights were off, which made her sigh because everything was later than she thought. Suddenly, footsteps sounded from behind, startling Jin Hae-ri. She glanced back, feeling like someone was following her. It was late, and she was very worried. As she feared, when she looked back, she saw a man with his face covered, wearing a mask and a black coat, walking slowly. Seeing this, Jin Hae-ri shivered. What the hell? She didn't know how long he had been following her. Oh my god, why is there no one else on the street right now? The man was staggering like a zombie, and it seemed like his gaze was intentionally or unintentionally fixed on Jin Hae-ri. The girl tried to reassure herself that he was probably just going the same way and quickly sped up to leave. "Miss, wait a minute," the mysterious man suddenly spoke. His voice and appearance made Jin Hae-ri's hair stand on end, and she felt danger approaching, so she immediately ran away. Seeing her run, the man quickly moved forward and called out, "Miss, let me ask you something," as danger loomed. While running, Jin Hae-ri silently panicked. "What should I do? Someone help me." "That's right, Ansamiro," she called the name silently in her heart. Then, out of nowhere, a punch flew straight into the face of the mysterious man. The direct hit startled him, but he quickly grabbed the hand of the man who punched him and yelled, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" The noise from behind made Jin Hae-ri turn around in confusion. In her eyes, the mysterious follower had been knocked down and was lying still on the ground. Jin Hae-ri looked at the godlike figure who had appeared. He turned to ask her if she was okay. The girl, having just gone through a terrifying experience, was extremely tired and gasping for breath. She trembled and sat down on the road, exclaiming, "Oh my god, you scared me to death. I was so scared that I lost all my strength," she said. "You said you were fine, so why do you look like this now?" Ansamiro approached and took her trembling hand. "Thank you. If it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened. But why did you appear when I didn't even call you?" "You called me in your heart, and I always hear it," he replied ambiguously, leaving Jin Hae-ri slightly confused. "So that's how it is. Anyway, I'm very grateful to you," she said. "It's late now, so let's go home. Get up." Jin Hae-ri shook her head and said, "Wait a minute. I need to sit and rest to regain some strength." Ansamiro gestured for her to just sit still. "I'll carry you," he said. Before she could react, Jin Hae-ri was lifted off the ground. Ansamiro easily carried her in his arms like a princess. "You'll feel more comfortable if we go like this." Jin Hae-ri's face immediately turned red with embarrassment. "No, you can't take me home like this all the way," she protested. He replied, "Why not? Let's go, it's already late. Hold on tight." While Jin Hae-ri was still bewildered, a mysterious force enveloped them. Then, the deity Ansamiro lifted Jin Hae-ri and shot straight up into the sky. The sudden situation made Jin Hae-ri panic and cling to his neck. "Ah, what the hell is this? Are we flying?" The deity looked around from high above and asked, "Is our house at the end of that alley, right?" Jin Hae-ri tried hard to look and saw that it was indeed her house, so she nodded. Having determined the direction, the deity Ansamiro immediately flew to it and gently landed on the rooftop. "We're here, see how fast it was?" It seemed that only then did Jin Hae-ri manage to regain her senses and comprehend what had just happened. "Oh my god, did we really just fly?" "Yes, we just flew. Can I put you down now?" Then Ansamiro gently put the girl in his arms down on the ground. He quickly asked, "How's your leg?" Jin Hae-ri, still bewildered and blushing, replied that everything was fine. "If you're okay, then I'll go." Seeing Ansamairo about to leave, Jin Hae-ri immediately grabbed his clothes with both hands and said, "Don't go, stay here. I'll make something delicious for you to eat." After all, he just saved her, so she couldn't just let him go like that. Then, Jin Hae-ri cooked him a bowl of hot noodles and signaled him to eat quickly before it swelled and was no longer delicious. Ansamairo carefully looked at the bowl of noodles in front of him and wondered, "Do you want me to eat these?" "Yes, this is ramyun, what we eat when we're hungry, and it's a great food to eat at night. Why don't you eat it? I made it for you." Looking at the deity Ansamairo at this moment, he seemed a bit hesitant. "Eat it. The last time we ate fried chicken, you were surprised to see me overexcited, weren't you? I won't be like that anymore, so don't worry and eat." Ansamairo looked at the girl in front of him in confusion but didn't say anything. "If you say so, I'll try them. Although they look a bit strange, they taste good, right? It's a new product that's very popular." The deity Ansamairo chewed for a while and then suddenly widened his eyes in shock. The spicy hot explosion in his mouth almost made Ansamairo cry. "What the hell is this? Is it too spicy?" "It's not that spicy, here's some water." Ansamairo drank several sips of water because the spicy heat was so intense that it made his body tremble. After drinking a full glass of water, our deity was red-faced and panting as if he had just been pulled out of a pot of boiling water. Jin Hae-ri was flustered and bowed her head to apologize because she didn't know he couldn't eat spicy food. Ansamairo was trembling but also brushed it off. "It's okay, so don't apologize anymore." Seeing that he really didn't mind and wasn't angry, Jin Hae-ri also sighed. At this time, Jin Hae-ri kept staring at Ansamairo as if she had something to ask, which made him couldn't help but tell her to ask freely. The girl heard that and immediately asked excitedly, "Do you often fly around like just now?" Ansamairo thought for a while and replied that he only flew occasionally. Jin Hae-ri seemed very interested in this topic and kept asking, "How far can you fly? Can you fly up to the clouds in the sky?" Looking at the excited face of the girl, Ansamairo wondered why she was so curious about these things. Jin Hae-ri nodded, "Yes, since I was little, I've always wanted to fly in the deep blue sky along those pure white clouds." Ansamairo was a bit confused but guessed that it was a habit from her past life that still existed. "When my friends went on trips, I was very jealous of them because of the pictures they took from the plane." Ansamairo was silent for a moment and then hesitated to ask, "Should I show you? I'm asking if I should take you to see what the clouds look like?" After dinner, a beam of light started from the rooftop of the apartment building and shot straight up into the high sky. Jin Hae-ri had prepared herself mentally, but flying so high still made her very surprised and she couldn't stop gaping. But the higher they went, the colder the air became. Even though she was wearing a jacket, she still felt chilly. Upon hearing this, Ansamairo immediately cast a spell that caused a 7-colored smoke to envelop both of them. "She's not cold anymore, is she?" Hae-ri looked around in bewilderment and recognized these multicolored clouds. They were what she saw when she first met Ansamairo. "All right, we're here now. Look." The beautiful girl excitedly turned her head to look around. She was absolutely thrilled to be really on the clouds at this moment. "It's all clouds. We must be very high up, right? It's amazing, just like a dream." To see the clouds so close to me, she was truly happy and couldn't hide her overflowing joy. "You like to talk, don't you? It's not a dream, so look carefully. It's like a fairy world. The clouds look like soft cotton candy. Can you let me down? I want to try walking on the clouds." Following her request, Ansamairo slowly let her stand on the enchanted clouds. "It's scary. I thought I could walk because it's good, but a mysterious light once again enveloped her body to ensure she wouldn't fall." Ansamairo smiled gently and reassured her that he would watch over her, "So don't worry and do as you please." This gentle consideration made Jin Hae-ri very happy and she smiled and nodded. "Oh my god, I'm really on these clouds and walking on these clouds. I must be the only one who has ever walked like this, right? Thank you, Ansamairo, really." A sweet and extremely happy smile appeared on the girl's lips. Seeing this somewhat familiar smile and these words suddenly made Ansamairo freeze. He remembered the past when Princess Ari had also said to him, thank you very much, Ansamairo. Thanks to you, Beeked won the victory, thank you. But are your wounds okay? Don't let them get worse. Every dawn, I go to the temple and pray fervently for you to return safely." Looking at the gentle girl in front of him, Ansamairo smiled, "Thank you, Ari, thank you." Because he suddenly remembered the past, in Ansamairo's eyes at this moment, there was a deep, strange emotion. "Ansamairo, Ansamairo, Ansamairo," Jin Hae-ri's voice woke him up from his strange memories. "Didn't you hear anything? I've been calling you for a while now." "Oh, why? Is something wrong? I think we should go home now. I'm starting to feel sleepy." Look, isn't the sun setting? Aunt Sumire looked in the direction she pointed and saw the sun far away. Is it this late already? I've been running around so much that I'm very tired, Jin Hae-ri kept yawning. Alright then, let's go down. Hold my hand tightly and close your eyes. In the vast scenery of the sky and clouds, Jin Hae-ri leaned her face against the chest of the man in front of her and fell asleep tiredly. In the blink of an eye, thanks to magic, the two of them appeared in the room. They returned to the room where the girl still clung to him, refusing to let go, which startled the god as he called her name. Upon closer inspection, he realized that she had fallen asleep without him knowing, and he hurried because she said she was tired. But now, what should he do with her, Jin Hae-ri? Should he lay her on the bed? In a daze from exhaustion, the girl instinctively nodded, unaware of anything. After placing the girl on the bed and carefully pulling up the blanket over her, Aunt Sumire softly wished her good night and sweet dreams. Then, our god immediately vanished from the room. At the same time, in a world where the moon is very large and round, where the gods live, in the Wool Palace, a splendid and luxurious palace of the snake-faced goddess, the stern old lady asked the fairies about Darien. As the emperor had commanded, she was full of remorse. She had just gone to her room to sleep. Hearing this, the old lady nodded, but she still felt something was not quite right because the girl had been silent for many days. This sudden silence did not fit the girl's character at all. Since I will be going to heaven in a few days, you must watch over Darien carefully, she instructed. The palace ladies immediately bowed and replied, Yes, your majesty. In another dark space filled with strands of demonic and deathly energy, in the palace of an underworld king, the king sat alone, savoring a precious wine that had been offered to him. Just then, a woman's voice startled him. Why are you drinking alone? Come out here quickly, don't be sneaky. Seeing the king's intense reaction, the woman revealed herself as Darien. It's been a long time, hasn't it, King number 10? We meet again. Seeing her, the king immediately shouted to drive her away. How dare you come here? Leave now. Darien smiled wickedly and teased, still as impatient as ever, aren't you? But before you throw me out, please listen to why I've come all this way. The 10th king had no affection for this woman, so he immediately interrupted and showed no interest. Your Majesty, do you want to find the fairy you almost married but lost? Hearing this, the 10th king was clearly startled. I will help you marry her again, I mean with that fairy. The god will help Emperor Cheonyun marry her again. Faced with Darien's mysterious temptation, the 10th king was silent, then suddenly slammed his fist on the table. Do you think I will be fooled again? That matter has been a joke in the underworld for too long. My lord, disturbing the king's mood deserves severe punishment. But if you miss this last chance, you will continue to hear humiliating stories about being robbed of your bride by the gods of the fairy realm. These words from Darien truly angered the 10th king, making him seem ready to explode. Will you stop now? Good, this is your last chance, are you sure? If not, what then? Darien smiled upon hearing this. If this time it doesn't work, then the god will hang that girl. Very quickly, the sky brightened again to welcome a beautiful new day. At the media company, where the upcoming movie that Jin Hae-ri is a supporting actress in will be produced, the conversation of two people echoed in the manager's room. Just sign here, and all the procedures will be completed. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me anytime. I will do anything you want. Jin Hae-ri sat opposite, carefully read the contract, and smiled. Yes, thank you very much. Manager Kang Min-woo said that the scriptwriter would increase the duration for the role of Guzulaji because everyone was very satisfied with Jin Hae-ri's acting during the audition. The girl was very happy and excited. Really? Did I act well? Yes, but there are also things you need to learn. I want you to master horse riding and swordsmanship skills like a young warrior in the Silla era. Don't worry, I will contact the action school I know. If you have time, go there to practice. Thank you very much, manager. I will try my best to act well. But, Jin Hae-ri, do you have a management company yet? Jin Hae-ri heard the manager ask and smiled and replied that she had found someone to help but had not found a company yet. However, she decided to do that while filming this movie. Manager Kang Min-woo smiled and suggested that if she hadn't found one, he would introduce her to a place he knew. Large companies will provide good support, so Jin Hae-ri, think carefully. Jin Hae-ri was very excited, determined that she would think carefully while trying her best for this movie. Outside the building, the gentle hand of the god Aunt Sumire was stroking a cute black cat. It seemed to be a stray cat but was quite friendly with people and was not afraid at all. While he was focused, a familiar voice rang out, Aunt Sumire, do you see? I signed the contract for this movie. Jin Hae-ri sparkled with excitement, showing off her achievement to her friend. Now we have to go to the ancient costume workshop. That's where the costumes for this movie are made. Because the character Miss Guzulaji is the daughter of an ancient noble. So Hae-ri also has to wear the costumes of that era. On the way, the two were driving and chatting. Jean Hae-ri exclaimed that if she were to play a woman, she would have to wear the clothes of a woman in the Beach era. Hearing her mention such a familiar name, Ansamiro immediately turned to ask if Jean Hae-ri remembered anything about Beach. Beach? I only learned it in history class. Silla, Goguryeo, Beach, and that's it. So have you been to the Bio Museum? No, I've been there because the audition the other day was the same. I don't know why such a good thing happened. Jean Hae-ri remembered that day and pointed at Ansamiro and laughed happily. What's so funny? I don't understand what you're laughing at. Jean Hae-ri heard that and explained that maybe because she had been there, she met Ansamiro and even passed the audition round. Although it was a pity that she did not get the lead role, she also got the role of Guzulaji. She will definitely work hard to act in the movie so that she can take on any role in the future. Ansamiro listened carefully and wondered if she didn't get the lead role, wouldn't she regret it? Jean Hae-ri shook her head, not feeling regretful at all because after all, she had participated in the movie she wanted. Now there is a good opportunity. Even before, she couldn't even try. Clearly, Ansamiro didn't believe her words much, so he smiled and asked again, really? Yes, sometimes I wait all day for an opportunity, but I only get to be an extra, and I don't even have a line. This job is not easy at all. It sounds difficult, but if it's so difficult, why do you like your current job so much? Jean Hae-ri happily answered because it's a job she loves. Ansamiro thought to himself that this girl didn't even remember anything about her past life, but she had been reincarnated so many times, right? I am someone who is passionate about acting. Making an impression on people is not a rest, no matter how difficult it is, I want to become an actress. But thinking about it, how did you accidentally get stuck in that golden incense burner? Ansamiro thought for a while and casually answered because it had been so long that he had forgotten the reason. After chatting casually for a few sentences, the car had arrived at the costume workshop, so the two prepared to get out of the car. Jean Hae-ri kept paying attention to the expression of the man next to her and felt that there were many mysteries that he was hiding. They had arrived, so Jean Hae-ri got out of the car and looked around. Ansamiro, will you wait for me in the car? Yes, I will wait here. Go quickly and come back. How much time does the Emperor have left in the mortal world that God has promised? It's 217 days according to human time. When the moon sets for the 7th time, before the sun rises, he must return to heaven. The old memories once again appear in Ansamiro's mind. 217 days, 7 moonsets before the sun rises, he must return to heaven. This is indeed a costume workshop where everywhere are meticulously crafted costumes serving for film crews covering all eras. The staff there help Jean Hae-ri take body measurements and choose suitable costumes for her upcoming and ask if she wants to try on a set first. Receiving a nod, they immediately bring out a sparkling ancient costume with a gentle green color for Jean Hae-ri. After you finish dressing, I will do your hair. Jean Hae-ri receives the costume and prepares for a while, then is very excited because this is an extremely beautiful costume. It's not a regular ancient costume but a meticulously crafted one, so it's completely different from the rental shops outside. A while later, while Ansamiro is waiting in the car, his phone suddenly vibrates. The caller is Jean Hae-ri and she says that she has finished changing her costume and wants him to come and see, because it's a costume of the Beach era, so Ansamiro is also very curious. That's right, please come in, go to the end of the corridor on the 1st floor. I'm there. Following Jean Hae-ri's instructions, Ansamiro enters the workshop to find the room where she is. Is this the right place? The Three Kingdoms costume room. Hearing the knock from outside, the person inside immediately invites in, the door is opened, Ansamiro calmly peeks inside. Jean Hae-ri, is that your manager? Oh my god, he's so handsome. When Ansamiro sees Jean Hae-ri's appearance now, he is completely startled and almost doesn't recognize her. Hearing his call, she also turns her face to look back. Ansamiro, you're here? How do I look, is it suitable? In the beautiful costume along with her long hair meticulously made up, the girl seems to have really become a princess from ancient times. Jean Hae-ri spins around then excitedly asks if it's suitable. Looking at her appearance, Ansamiro is dumbfounded and doesn't know how to answer because she looks exactly like Princess Ari, whom he always misses. Time reverses and returns to the past when the Beach Kingdom still existed and was very powerful. The war god standing and admiring the scenery in the royal garden then hears a call from behind, attracting his attention. Ansamiro, the person coming is a girl with a splendid costume like a fairy. Ansamiro looks at the girl for a while then opens his mouth to question because her dress today is a bit strange. You mean this dress? Princess Ari sighs because today the emperor will hold a party, so she was told to make up before she could come. Ansamiro, brother, please go with me. If it's Gungnamji in the words of my sister, is it the lotus pond that Emperor Baktevoo dug? The beautiful princess nods. There is a flower garden with many ponds with so many blooming lotuses that you can't see the water underneath. Hearing that, suddenly Ansamiro brushes his hand to refuse. He says that he will stay here and not go anywhere. Ansamiro really hates noise and complications. So, princess, go enjoy the flowers and the solitude. Moreover, be careful not to get stung by bees. Hearing this, the princess lowered her head and muttered, even if you hate me, can't you stay by my side for just one day? Seeing Ansamiro's sulking face turning away, Princess Ari felt rejected. Realizing her coquetry had no effect, she suddenly moved closer. I deliberately made myself up to look beautiful. Please, just go with me, she pleaded. Ari, why are you acting like this here? Why can't you be mature? The princess, angered, kicked Ansamiro's leg. That's right, I'm not mature. So what? When the lotus flowers bloom in that pond, one must go with their beloved to never be apart. Please, go with me. I'm begging you, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. Why must it be like this? He was about to say something when he was startled by her sobbing. Tears streamed down her cheeks like pearls, and her voice was choked with emotion. It was because she had heard that her father was choosing a consort for her. She hated that because the only person she liked was Ansamiro. She disliked everyone else except him. So please, don't leave me alone, she implored as the scene shifted back to modern times, to a bustling street. This building is an action film set where actors can practice stunts for easier filming. After a grueling training session, Jin Hae-ri dragged her exhausted body into the car and slammed the door shut. She gasped for air, looking utterly miserable. Oh my, I'm so tired. I'm going to die, she exclaimed. Ansamiro, seeing her like this, smiled and said, nothing in this world comes easy, does it? But you seem in good spirits? Suddenly, Ansamiro moved closer to Jin Hae-ri. Then, he wrapped an arm around her as if to embrace her. Jin Hae-ri, embarrassed by the situation, blushed and quickly asked, what are you doing? Ansamiro calmly replied, if you want to go home, you need to buckle up, right? Oh, sorry, my thoughts wandered there, haha. You're that exhausted from training? He asked, noticing her pitiful state. Jin Hae-ri sadly responded, maybe it's because I've trained too much. My archery, swordsmanship, and horseback riding skills are all rusty. If it continues like this on set, I'll be ridiculed, and it will affect the production's progress, she worried. Archery and swordsmanship? Ansamiro inquired. Yes, the scriptwriter says Gizolaji is good at archery and swordsmanship, so he hopes I can perform well. That's why I have to practice diligently to become proficient. While Jin Hae-ri was speaking, she suddenly became alert and realized she had forgotten something important. She immediately turned to ask Ansamiro if he knew archery and swordsmanship. The young man, while driving, replied that he did, but he didn't like teaching her. Why not? Please teach me, she insisted. I can learn at the center we just passed. What else do you need from me? He asked. Oh, Ansamiro, the first shooting session is coming up soon. I will train at the martial arts school, but I want all the action scenes to be perfect, she declared. Hearing Jin Hae-ri's tone, Ansamiro had no choice but to surrender. I understand. Really? You will teach me, she asked gratefully. Thank you, Ansamiro, thank you so much. But what about practicing at home? How about practicing in the clouds? Can we really train up there? The sky at sunset was aglow with a soft golden light tinged with pink, looking absolutely beautiful. At the same time, in another realm, where the heavenly palaces and deities resided, footsteps echoed as they entered a tall tower. A respectful woman spoke to a fairy, asking her to inform the Jade Emperor that the Moon Palace's ruler had come to visit. Yes, my lady. Please wait a moment, I will go and inform him immediately, the fairy replied. The heavenly realm was a place of beauty, with countless rare sights and mountains floating high in the sky. At that moment, the Jade Emperor was standing high above, admiring the view. The ruler of the Moon Palace, who had just arrived, now came forward to pay her respects. Your Majesty, the ruler of the Moon Palace has arrived, she announced. It has been a long time since I had the opportunity to visit the Jade Emperor, she said. The Jade Emperor turned around with a dignified voice and invited her in. Moon Palace ruler Wool, your visit today isn't just a simple inquiry, is it? He asked. The Moon Palace ruler bowed respectfully and said that she would return shortly, so the date for the marriage that he once despised should be set quickly. A wedding? Yes, it is the wedding of the war god's daughter, Darien, she explained. After much reflection within a lotus flower, the god's daughter had smoothed out her rough edges and become wiser than before. So, I hope the wedding can proceed, she hoped. The Jade Emperor said nothing more but smiled and said that he would inform her when his son returned. However, this statement startled the Moon Palace ruler. Inform me? Your gaze has become unusually stern, she noted. The Jade Emperor spoke thoughtfully, let it be so. Return to your palace and wait. It's been a long time, so what's a little longer, he questioned. I understand, your majesty. I will return to my palace and wait, she replied, realizing she could no longer speak with the emperor and had to return to her own Moon Palace. Darien, her daughter, asked how the meeting with the Jade Emperor went. The Moon Palace ruler nodded and said, His Majesty said to wait for his announcement. The proud goddess looked in the mirror, annoyed, and scoffed. He speaks as if he will make an announcement, does he? Seeing her daughter's disrespect, the Moon Palace ruler became angry and shouted, Darien, pay attention to your words. Darien retorted, I am truly disappointed and will not accept it. I have waited for him for 1,000 years. Why hasn't anything improved? What attracts him to her, she wondered. Looking at her hot-tempered and unattractive daughter, the Moon Palace ruler firmly instructed, the war god will return soon, so stop causing trouble. Darien looked at herself in the mirror, questioning, will he really return? Even if he says he will, can he forget everything and become my husband? It's my fault for rejecting him. Yet, I can't stay calm when he cares for and likes someone else, she admitted. The Moon Palace ruler, tired of her mad daughter, could only sigh and remind her, remember this, Darien. Everything done in this world will have consequences and the cycle of karma will not stop. Be careful before you regret it, even as a deity, it's very hard to change the past. The palace mistress looked at her daughter and thought to herself, I'm tired, so I'll rest first. You calm down a bit. Are you saying that you won't say a word to defend me? Alright, then I'll do it myself. This time, I'll do it directly. As soon as Darien made up his mind, he waved his hand at the mirror in front of him, causing the image on the mirror to gradually reveal the scene of the neighborhood where Jean Hae-ri was living. At this moment, the sound of a wooden stick cutting through the wind echoed on her rooftop. You dare to harass a young girl? Aren't you ashamed as a man? The girl was practicing diligently with a wooden stick while reciting her lines, but suddenly the wooden stick broke, startling Jean Hae-ri. How could it break? Of course, it's a wooden stick, so it's easy to break. You should practice gently, don't be so violent. Hearing the voice above, Hae-ri turned around and found that Ansamiro had been here for some time. He held a pile of scripts in his hand and asked, which scene requires you to use a sword? The scene with the sword is the first appearance of Guzulaji in a place in Silla. At that time, Guzulaji will help Asanyo when she is looking for her husband. Asanyo? Isn't Guzulaji in love with Asadao? Why would she help the wife of the man she likes? She doesn't know that Asanyo is Asadal's previous wife, and of course, she will help someone in trouble. She can't ignore it. As Jean Hae-ri explained, she shyly approached Ansamiro and wondered if he came here to teach her. If not, what am I doing here? Hearing this, Jean Hae-ri was excited. Are we going to practice on the clouds? I was joking, who would go up there to practice? Instead, let's practice here, it's much more suitable. With Ansamiro's words, a stream of energy radiated out and enveloped the two of them in an instant. Immediately after, the two appeared in a dense bamboo forest with ancient costumes on their bodies. This is a very suitable place to practice martial arts. Ansamiro proudly said, oh my god, even the clothes have changed. I think it would be better to practice with ancient costumes when you wear them for acting. Don't you like it? No, I like it very much. It's so beautiful. Then let's start. At the same time, the wooden stick she was holding in her hand suddenly twisted and transformed. In the blink of an eye, the wooden stick had turned into a very exquisite wooden bow. Oh, the practice stick has turned into a bow. Ansamiro smiled and explained that it would be better if she learned archery before learning to use a sword. Jean Hae-ri couldn't stop admiring the bow in her hand and exclaimed that it looked very similar to the bow used in the film set. So using it for practice will definitely be very good. Shall I try pulling it like this? Right? Looking at her posture, Ansamiro sighed again, you will miss all the shots if you keep pulling with your stiff shoulders. He stepped forward and used his hand to guide her to adjust her posture. Relax your shoulders. Although the strength to pull determines the damage of the arrow you will shoot, your legs also need to be stable enough to make the arrow fly more smoothly. Remember that when using a bow to shoot at an unclear target, the risk of failure is very high. Because the two of them are standing quite close to each other, Jean Hae-ri suddenly feels embarrassed and blushes. Now, when she pulls the string and raises her bow, her hand should pull in a straight line when lowering it, and her right shoulder should always be steady, lower the bow a little more and keep it stable. The detailed instructions in her ear make Jin Hae-ri feel very strange because she has a feeling that this has happened before, like déjà vu. And of course, it should be familiar because in the past, Onsamiro had taught Princess Ari to shoot a bow. That image suddenly flashed in Jin Hae-ri's head, making her extremely startled. Seeing the girl lose focus, Onsamiro immediately reminded her that everything must be focused to get results. Hearing this, Jin Hae-ri blushed and awkwardly resolved to focus on the bow. After a while of adjusting her posture, Jin Hae-ri finally stood firm and accurate. So Onsamiro signaled her to shoot at the target ahead. But it's so far away, can I hit it? I can't even see it clearly. It's okay, as long as she focuses on the height and keeps her breath steady, she shouldn't worry or be confused. At this moment, a board with familiar circles for those who often sell bows suddenly appeared in the distance. Jin Hae-ri's sharp eyes detected the hidden target and immediately raised her bow to aim and shoot. In that instant, the arrow tore through the wind and flew out incredibly quickly. With a puff, the arrow stuck straight into the board and was just a little bit away from the bullseye. Jin Hae-ri's eyes widened in astonishment and excitement because she hit the target the first time. Even Onsamiro standing next to her seemed surprised, so he nodded and praised her for doing well. It will be quite difficult before she releases the bow and pulls the bowstring, but it's very satisfying when she can hit the target. You feel that way too, don't you? Hearing this, Jin Hae-ri happily nodded. That's right, Onsamiro. Looking at the happy smile on the girl's lips, the boy couldn't help but smile gently. You did very well. Looking at this smile, Jin Hae-ri was taken aback because this was the first time she saw him smile like that. Huh? Jin Hae-ri suddenly blushed and looked down at her chest because she suddenly felt it was unusually stiff. Seeing her blushing face, Onsamiro cared if she was okay? Yes, it's okay. If it's okay, then prepare to shoot again. Hurry up, get into position, raise the bow above your head and pull while lowering it. Hurry up. But it seems that the next times are not so favorable when the arrow hasn't flown halfway yet and has fallen to the ground. Onsamiro was annoyed and scolded her. Where are you aiming? Why did you shoot so well just now? After a long day of training, Jin Hae-ri was exhausted, grimaced, and lay on the bed panting. Do you know that the photo shoot will take place in 2 days? You have to prepare so you don't get sick. Do you understand? I understand. What did you say too quietly? I didn't hear it, Jin Hae-ri helplessly shouted. I said I understand. Oh my god, who knows, we really practiced so hard like this, it's so tiring. Very quickly, time slipped away and today is the day to shoot the poster for the movie. At this moment in the makeup room, both the director and the staff were anxious because neither the lead actor nor the lead actress had arrived yet, despite it being time. The assistant received a message that they were on their way. Seeing this, the assistant suggested why not start taking photos of Jin Hae-ri first since she had finished her makeup preparation and had been waiting for a while. The director, hearing this, asked if it was Jin Hae-ri in the role of Guzelaji. We can't wait any longer, so let's start with her. Thus, Jin Hae-ri was fortunate to be the first to be photographed today. Alright, Jin Hae-ri, lift the sword naturally. Yes, look a bit to the left. The beautiful girl skillfully followed the photographer's requests. She had practiced a lot, so holding the sword felt very comfortable. The photography area was filled with the continuous clicking sounds of the photographer's camera. The photographer seemed very pleased and even thought that Hae-ri had acted in action movies before because of her natural sword-holding posture. It was amazing, and the photos were sure to turn out great. Onsamiro stood at a distance, watching everyone work. Seeing Jin Hae-ri's happy smile as she was praised by those around her, he finally felt at ease and began to leave since everything seemed to be going well, and he needed to rest for a while. It wasn't until an hour after the photo shoot ended that Jin Hae-ri went to the parking lot to find Onsamiro. Onsamiro, I'm here. As she opened the door, Onsamiro was astonished by her current appearance. Have you finished the shoot? Not yet, there are still some group scenes to shoot, but I was told to come back after resting and after Lee Ha-young and the lead actor finish their photos. So, I'm going to rest here for a bit. Oh, have you changed your outfit? Yes, because I have to shoot the group photos later. Jin Hae-ri just changed her outfit. Onsamiro's question made Jin Hae-ri wonder if she looked strange, but that wasn't the case. He was surprised because her current look reminded him of the past. This appearance made him remember the old Jin Hae-ri, who didn't understand Onsamiro's feelings but was still happily introducing her outfit. She really liked this outfit, as well as her hairstyle and makeup. Jin Hae-ri smiled, glanced at Onsamiro, and said she guessed he would prefer the outfit she wore before. Faced with the young girl's teasing, Onsamiro calmly replied, I like both outfits are beautiful. Looking at the face getting closer and that dim smile, Jin Hae-ri blushed and was startled. What the heck? Why is my heart beating so fast? Her heart was pounding in her chest, but she tried to stay calm and replied, it's strange that he is praising me. Why is it strange? If it looks good, I say it. Everything is very beautiful, but especially more beautiful today. The direct compliments made Jin Hae-ri extremely embarrassed, so she pretended to search in her body and suddenly realized, oh right, I almost forgot, I brought a rice cake. Ansamiro glanced at the small gift in her hand, a rice cake? This rice cake is the cake that the film crew gave her to eat when she was resting, and they said that this kind of cake is very popular recently, even having to queue up to eat it. Taking the rice cake out of the gift box, Jin Hae-ri happily brought it to Ansamiro and told him to eat it because it would be very delicious. He immediately refused, no, I'm fine. You eat it. You didn't have breakfast today. Jin Hae-ri sadly said that she couldn't eat rice cakes, especially now, because if she ate something during the photo shoot, her face would swell and the photos would be very ugly, so since yesterday, she had only dared to drink water. Having no other choice, Ansamiro accepted the rice cake, but as soon as his hand accidentally touched her hand, Jin Hae-ri blushed. At that moment, it was as if a strange current ran through the girl's body. Oh my, static electricity? Am I the only one who can feel it? Ansamiro slowly ate the cake and indeed it was very delicious, so he looked very pleased. Ansamiro, it's delicious, isn't it? You ate it deliciously, didn't you? Yes, it's quite delicious, but it's different from the rice cakes I knew before. It has to be different. Nowadays, even rice cakes are made like Western bread, they call it a sweet cake. Do you like it? I will buy it for you to eat later. I like the usual cream cakes and especially chocolate ones. The cream layer looks like white snow, it's sweet and soft, and the bitter chocolate too. How should I explain it? But if we keep talking about food like this, I will be hungry and die. Looking at her tired appearance, Ansamiro sighed and wondered, do you still want to continue this job even when you can't eat? It has to be okay. I'm not the only one on a diet, others do it too. So I will eat something after the photo shoot, just endure a little bit. Oh, and did you hear them praise me for handling the sword well earlier? People said that there will probably be many beautiful pictures because my posing is very natural. So, Ansamiro, I will also rely on you next time. Just sitting and resting for a while, Jin Hae-ri's phone rang again. There was a message from the film crew, and everyone had finished their shooting part, so they told Jin Hae-ri to come there. She quickly got out of the car, waved goodbye, and would come back after the photo shoot ended. Ansamiro also smiled and waved goodbye to her. Watching her beautiful figure gradually disappear behind the door, he sat in the car helplessly. What will she do if she falls? I told her not to run in a hurry. Suddenly, Ansamiro's mood plummeted as he remembered her plea earlier that she would rely on him again next time. Ansamiro calmly looked out the window. After all, there wasn't much time left, he might not be able to see her again and she should become a great actress. At the same time, in the underworld, right at the fortress leading to the gate of hell, the bull-headed horse-faced guard stood guard at the gate very seriously. The hallway in the room was quiet with a line of staff passing by from time to time. A mysterious little hand suddenly appeared. The little flute boy finally made it here after sneaking around. Now he needs to get a copy of her previous life and quickly leave. But oh my god, with so many, when can he find it? He has no choice but to use the spell. Although it's very dangerous, there's no other choice. Please fulfill the wish and find it. He wants to know everything that happened in Jin Hae-ri's previous life. According to the boy's spell, a miraculous light covered the bookshelves in front of him and the papers started to fall. The boy hurriedly caught each sheet. They said there would be a record for each life, but why are there so many here? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a total of 9 copies? So it means there have been 9 lives, and before the soul of the fairy met the Jade Emperor, he said that she would reincarnate. There is a condition for her to become a fairy again, which is to reincarnate as a human 10 times, and if she commits suicide more than 3 times after her last death, she must go straight to hell to be punished. The boy looks at the records and feels heavier as she has gone through 9 lives. Now this is her 10th and last life. Is this the last reincarnation? Under the mortal world, Jin Hae-ri's photo shoot and the film crew continue. That's great. Now she should put her hands together sincerely. Actress Lee Ha-young accurately follows the photographer's requests. That's right, create a feeling of worry and sadness like that. It's great. Her condition is really good today, isn't it? Jin Hae-ri stands by and watches, also amused by the attraction of Lee Ha-young, which is really different. She really looks like a sanyo. Manager Kong Min-woo suddenly approached and greeted her, looking behind her. I wonder who that is. She really looks like the people of the old days. Jin Hae-ri is praised and happily smiles. Thank you. Are you here to supervise the photo shoot? Just after a few conversations, the phone in the busy manager's pocket rings again. I'm sorry. I have a call here, it's okay. Jin Hae-ri smiled shyly and then watched the photo shoot attentively from an angle where she couldn't be seen. The manager looked at her and smiled gently. Now, let's start the joint photo session of Asanyo and Guzulaji. Miss Lee Ha-young, please express the sorrow of Asanyo after finding out her husband has been kidnapped. Miss Jin Hae-ri, use an expression that shows Guzulaji's childish obsession, indicating she cannot give up on Asadal. After all, Asanyo wouldn't let her husband be taken away. Jin Hae-ri nodded in agreement. That's right, Guzulaji is just unrequitedly in love with Asadal, and that's true. It's hard to deceive people like Miss Lee Ha-young, isn't it? You both must be tired, but please try to work a little longer. The photographer comforted them while quickly finishing the remaining work. Outside, the sky was almost dark, and Ansamiro leaned back. Ansamiro? I'm done with work. Have you been waiting long for me? Aren't you pushing yourself too hard going straight to the action school after the photo shoot? Jin Hae-ri smiled and shook her head. It's true, I'm a bit tired, but I have to work harder. Even so, I couldn't do well without your help. Ansamiro pondered for a moment and then reminded her, don't rely on me too much. What if I suddenly disappear and leave you alone? Why won't you stay by my side until I become a famous actress? You can't disappear. If you do, I'll go to the golden incense burner every day and pray until you come back. You can't go, you just can't. Ansamiro, now with a headache, conceded, all right, I won't disappear, okay? The next stretch of road was very quiet, and soon the car arrived at the action training company. We're here. Oh, Jin Hae-ri, did you fall asleep? It seems the beautiful girl had fallen asleep without realizing it. We're here, wake up. Can you hear me? If not, let's go home. Perhaps due to exhaustion, he decided to take her home as it was getting dark. Heavy footsteps and a flustered voice sounded. Ansamiro? It's nothing, I just wanted to thank you. And now I'm fine, can you put me down? Jin Hae-ri's face turned red as Ansamiro carried her on his back. Forget it, don't overwork yourself like this next time. Okay, I promise I won't overdo it. Lying on Ansamiro's sturdy back, Jin Hae-ri whispered to herself, do you know? In the past, I always felt very lonely. Walking on this road. Every day, after each part-time job, before returning to my dark home, I envied the other houses with their lights on. It felt so lonely not having anyone waiting for me at home, but not anymore. Now, I don't feel jealous at all. Thank you so much, Ansamiro, I truly mean it. They returned to the familiar room of the two of them. Because she was too tired, Jin Hae-ri didn't even take a bath and immediately threw herself onto the bed and fell into a deep sleep. Oh my, should she have taken a bath or eaten something before sleeping? Since there is no schedule for tomorrow, she definitely needs more rest, right? While Ansamiro was adjusting the blanket for Jin Hae-ri, a voice suddenly appeared in his head, Your Highness, I have returned with the results. Outside, the twinkling stars and the faint moonlight somehow dispelled the dark night. In an old temple somewhere in the city, Ansamiro had appeared. He looked at the boy and asked, Did you go there and come back without being caught? The boy sat down on the floor, panting heavily. Yes. I went there and came back safely. How fortunate that you were not caught by the soldiers of the underworld. There are rumors that they eat people. The boy became irritated upon hearing this. That's why I had to take a detour. I went very, very far, oh my goodness. Then, he took out a scroll and said, These are the copied notes of her 9 reincarnations. The child had also divided them into illusions so that Ansamiro could instantly see the reincarnations of Jin Hae-ri. Hearing this, Ansamiro quickly grasped the essence of the matter. 9 reincarnations, thank you. You have worked hard. However, these illusions can only be used once before they disappear, so remember that. All right, I understand. Then I shall go now, Your Highness. I am too tired, said the boy, and he transformed into a rainbow-colored beam of light and disappeared. Ansamiro focused on the scroll he had just received. 9 reincarnations? Then this reincarnation is her last as a human being. He began to unfold each page, and with a burst of light, scenes began to appear. When she left Hell, her first reincarnation was as Princess Ari, the daughter of the king of the Beach Kingdom. The image appeared of the princess running breathlessly down the corridor. When she saw a familiar figure at the end of the road, she called out, Ansamiro, Ari will get hurt if she keeps running like that. The girl, regardless, rushed into the arms of the young man. Ansamiro, Ari, don't be so mischievous, said the handsome and gentle young man as he hugged the girl tightly. I'm so glad you returned safely. I missed you a lot. Looking at the familiar scene projected before him, which matched what he had experienced in the past, Ansamiro was stunned. Ari, my princess, it has been so long since I last saw you like this, hasn't it? Although he could not touch her because it was an illusion, Ari, I long to hold you in my arms, to embrace you once more, but there isn't much time left because I am detaching myself from the outside world to see her previous life. So hurry up, I command thee, show me the illusions of how she ended her life there. Please help me quickly. According to the magic spell and the power of magic, illusions from the recorded papers began to appear around. Ansamiro looked bewildered at the scenes that were present right in front of him, including the scene of Princess Ari running away from the royal soldiers. He saw her crying painfully while protecting the incense burner and having to abandon her family. Ari, why? Why? Then there was the scene of the little princess throwing herself into the abyss, sinking into the terrifying river to protect the secret. Seeing this scene, Ansamiro painfully knelt down and held his head. The scene in front of him continued as the girl was gradually suffocating and gradually losing her life. Witnessing the painful scene of his lover before she passed away, Ansamiro couldn't control the heartache. His body trembled from the heartache. Why? Why? You fool, exactly why did she do that? She has to reincarnate as a human 10 times, and if she gives up her life more than 3 times, she will disappear forever. This can't be. This can't be, such extreme pain should not appear in her life. Regaining his composure, Ansamiro continued to use his magic, ordering thee to show all the endings of the lives she lived. The first life was the princess who had to commit suicide to give up her life. In the next life, she died from a pandemic when she was young. In the next life, she died in loneliness, and in another life, she was born as the son of a wealthy family and was poisoned to death. In the next life, she was a widow and died of hunger. Then she reincarnated as the daughter of a slave and quickly died just within 2 days after birth due to suffocation. Right after that life, she was reborn as a mute and lived a difficult life, and the next time she died in a car accident on the way to school after living a difficult life as a high school student. Ansamiro looked bewildered at these lives and was lucky that there was still one life still missing in that life. There must be one more reincarnation where she committed suicide, born as a daughter in a family that had been exterminated. Before being captured by slaves and sold to the Lord, she tried to commit suicide to follow her parents. The despair made her unable to live anymore. Ansamiro was completely silent before these lives because although she reincarnated as a human 9 times, she had to go through exhausting difficulties in all lives. Oh God, why did she have to suffer like that? It's been 2 times because she has committed suicide to give up her life 2 times, so she can't repeat that one more time. She must not commit suicide anymore. She must live to the end of this life, not commit suicide. Another night passed with the clear blue sky and the cold dewdrops of the early morning. The road at this time was still very deserted when people hadn't woken up, but Jean Hae-ri was diligently jogging to exercise. When running past a store, she saw something, so she immediately stopped, her big round eyes and red face from heavy exercise, panting, staring intently at the object in front of her. It turns out that what attracted her attention was a pastry shop opened early in the morning with a variety of delicious cakes. Oh my God, it looks so delicious. Yes, even if I can only eat cakes through the picture, I should still buy it for Ansamiro, right? Thinking so, Jean Hae-ri immediately turned around and walked into the cake shop. She intended to buy him a chocolate cake and a fresh cream-flavored cake. After buying 2 satisfactory cakes and strolling down the street, the girl happily thought to herself that he would be very happy to receive this gift. He would try it and keep praising it. How would he say it? She couldn't wait to see his reaction. Because she bought 2 delicious cakes, Hae-ri's mood was better than ever. She ran home while happily listening to a song. At the same time, at the Bio National Museum, the incense burner imprisoning Ansamiro was still quietly lying in the glass cabinet. A strange light emanating from someone's hand gradually approached the incense burner. Come here and listen to my earnest plea. But surprisingly, the incense burner remained silent and did not react to Ansamiro's spell. Why didn't it react to my plea? Even the barrier of my power will soon disappear, out of options, so Ansamiro had to change to another spell. The mythical beasts that connect the heavenly and earthly realms, listen to my plea. At this point, the incense burner responded as it gradually glowed, and suddenly a pair of huge wings and sharp claws appeared next to it. A pure white bird with a human face and a strange hat appeared and asked, "Your Highness, did you call us gods?" "Chanchu, I have a favor to ask of you." The bird looked at Ansamiro for a moment before speaking. "War God, why are you asking me for a special favor? You should ride on my back and return to heaven. I will escort you there safely." "I can't do that. Moreover, send my message to the Jade Emperor." The bird seemed shocked by this request from His Highness. "What, you called me out just to deliver a message to the Emperor? In her house, Jean Hae-ri had 2 beautiful cakes and a hot cup of coffee arranged on the table. Does it look too simple? It's just a snack, so that's enough. We will eat something else next time. Thinking so, she closed her eyes and softly read Ansamiro's name, then she opened her eyes and waved to Ansamiro. But there's no one in front of her. Why didn't he appear? While Jean Hae-ri was fumbling to find her god, the doorbell rang, startling her. The doorbell, who's coming? So today he plans to appear this way, thinking I don't know anything, right? Thinking so, she immediately went to open the door and teased loudly, you just need to appear, why bother? But before she could finish her sentence, the woman at the door screamed in surprise. Oh my god. It's the landlady. Jean Hae-ri was taken aback and shyly greeted, hello, what's the matter? Did you call my friend? Oh my god. I was really startled when the door suddenly opened like that. Jean Hae-ri was awkward, I'm sorry, what? Is the rent going up? But you also raised it last year, right? Yes, I added 50,000 won. I'm sorry, but these days my husband has been struggling to collect the rent properly every month. Jean Hae-ri was bewildered by these words. So how much more will the rent increase? Well, it's about 100,000 won, even so, I've already suffered a heavy loss. Other places are raising the rent by about 200, 300. Look, if she doesn't have the money, she should tell her parents, he said. Yes, sir, I will think about it, I replied. As the landlady turned to leave, she said, don't just think about it. I will start charging this amount from this month onwards, she declared. After she left, Jean Hae-ri stood in front of the door and sighed. She couldn't even work part-time at the moment, yet the rent kept skyrocketing. She was so exhausted that she no longer felt happy. She turned and went back to her room. Leaning against the door, she wondered whether she should move to another place. Oh my, I thought it was Ansamiro knocking, so now I feel a bit disappointed. Looking at the delicious cakes on the table, she whispered again, Ansamiro, 1, 2, 3. If you don't appear before I count to 3, I will eat both cakes myself, she said. But the room remained silent, and no one appeared. Hey, I'm serious, she added. Appear quickly. Jean Hae-ri's hands clenched as she remembered his words from before. Back then, in the car, he had said, don't rely on me too much because I might suddenly disappear one day. Could it be that he has already left? No way. Jean Hae-ri was bewildered when her phone on the table rang. To her surprise, the caller was manager Kong Min-woo. Hey Ri, are you well? It's me. I'm calling to ask if you can meet me for a moment. The photographer for our movie poster is holding a photo shoot for a Paris magazine. He said one of the models stood him up, so he's asking if you can replace her. Jean Hae-ri was astonished to hear this. A Paris fashion magazine? I don't have your manager's number, so I called you directly. Is that okay? What do you think? Do you have time today? If you don't have a ride, I can pick you up right now, he said. That's fine, sir. Just tell me the location of the shoot, and I'll be there, I responded. On the other end, Kong Min-woo smiled happily. Then I'll text you the studio address. Please be there before 2 p.m. He immediately sent the location via text to Jean Hae-ri. She looked at the map for a while and figured it would take 40 minutes to get there. So, she had to finish her makeup before going. But once again, the delicious cakes on the table caught Jean Hae-ri's eye. Ansamiro, come here quickly to eat this cake. Ansamiro has something to do now. I need the van. You should come quickly. But no matter how she called, no one appeared. What should she do if he suddenly disappeared? This is serious. Another long day passed without Ansamiro by her side. Manager Kong Min-woo had brought Jean Hae-ri close to her home after she finished a photo shoot. Thank you, manager. I just need to walk a little further, no need to escort me, she said. I should be the one thanking you for giving me such a precious opportunity. Have a good rest at home, she said while bowing to say goodbye, making the manager embarrassed. He waved his hand, telling her there was no need to be so formal. All right, you also have a good rest, he said. Seeing the lovely girl in front of him, the handsome manager thought she really had her own charm. After walking a few more steps, she reached the alley leading to her apartment building. While using the key card to open her door, Ansamiro suddenly appeared beside her. He asked her, where did you go today? Seeing him, she was startled. Ansamiro, yes, it's me. What's the matter? Oh my, where have you been? Why didn't you appear when I called you? She asked angrily. Seeing her angry look, Ansamiro felt awkward. Didn't you have no schedule today? So, I thought you wanted to rest. Hearing that, Jean Hae-ri stayed silent for a long time. Then she pouted, saying that she thought he had disappeared. He had once said he could disappear at any time, so today she thought he had left without saying goodbye. Seeing the worry in her eyes, Aunt Sumire softly comforted her. I won't disappear. I'll always be by your side, so don't worry anymore. Promise me that before you leave, you will tell me, she said, getting closer. Aunt Sumire quickly advised, let's go inside first, and then we'll talk. Her big, beautiful eyes stared at the boy in front of her. Suddenly, her hand gently touched his cheek, making him startle. I'll treat you better from now on, she said. The affectionate gesture made Aunt Sumire's face gradually turn red. Hey, Jin Hae-ri, let me go, he said. She didn't let go but even stood on tiptoe to get closer. Aunt Sumire, I was very worried, she said. The closeness made Aunt Sumire's face turn as red as a watermelon. So, don't go anywhere without telling me first, understand, she said. Haha, I bought a cake for you. Let's go inside and eat. This cake is similar to the Western rice cake I mentioned last time. Looking at the strange cake in front of him, Aunt Sumire felt something was off. Western rice cake? It looks burnt. It's not burnt. That's just chocolate. That's just its color, she replied. Try it, it's delicious, she said. No, I'm fine. I don't really want to eat it. Why? Don't say that, just try a piece, just a piece. She said that I would change my mind after trying this strange thing, right? Yes, that's what I said. You will automatically feel happy after eating this sweet cake, don't be afraid like that. Hearing that, Aunt Sumire countered that she should eat it, he would still be okay and feel happy even without happiness. Oh my, I ate one earlier and recently I have been on a diet so I have to restrain myself. Moreover, this morning I specially bought this cake for you because you have treated me very well. Well, of course, since you specially bought it for me, I will try a piece because even if I don't eat anything, I don't feel hungry. You don't eat but still don't feel hungry? Wait, why did you eat all the chicken the other day then? Hee, because the chicken was so attractive that day, I couldn't control myself. Hearing him say that, Jin Hae-ri thought to herself that next time she should buy fried chicken for him. Alright, then I will eat this cake. If I don't eat it, it will be a waste. There is no other way, so she had to eat one of the two cakes, but she still wondered how this person could live without eating. Aunt Sumire, I am very curious about what exactly you are. Tell me a little about the connection between you and the bronze incense burner plated with gold. Hearing the question from the girl, Aunt Sumire suddenly thought, what am I? Because I am a demigod, I am an existence that is neither a god nor a human. A long time ago, when I knew that my father was the creative god who ruled the heavenly realm, I went to meet him. To meet him, I had to step into the path of becoming a god and become the god of war, who had to protect the heavenly realm, but I committed a serious crime that I should not have committed. And the punishment for that crime was to be imprisoned in the bronze incense burner plated with gold. Hearing this, Jin Hae-ri was worried and hurriedly asked, a serious crime? How serious a crime that you were imprisoned in there? That? You're asking what crime? Aunt Sumire thought to himself that because of her, Jin Hae-ri, who used to be a child in that flower garden and became a fairy, the crime I committed is completely worth saving her. But he couldn't tell Jin Hae-ri the reason, so he immediately refused and said that he would explain this to her another time, today is enough. Hearing that, Hae-ri was puzzled, is it a difficult thing to say? Yes, it's a very difficult thing to say. Aunt Sumire never regretted the things that had happened, but he looked into the eyes of the girl in front of him and saw the pain she felt for him after hearing this story. Even so, this punishment is too heavy. Even though I don't know what crime you committed, why would they imprison a person in there for a long period of thousands of years? I don't know what mistake you made, but if you pray and sincerely apologize, perhaps all sins will be forgiven, so don't worry. I won't ask anything about this anymore. Suddenly, the young man's hands reached out, and then he gently placed his hand on her cheek. Thank you. Hae-ri, that was also very hard for her, she endured it very well. Jin Hae-ri was bewildered, not understanding how the man in front of her could understand the suppressed feelings in her heart. That's right, as Aunt Sumire spoke, he adjusted the tangled hair of the beautiful girl. In the face of this unspoken comfort, Jin Hae-ri confidently smiled, saying she would be fine. She chose this job because she wanted to do it. It's really embarrassing that I wanted to comfort him, but instead, he is the one comforting me. While the two were talking, the phone rang with a message. Jin Hae-ri hurriedly opened it to read the message. The message said that the film crew had decided on the start date and they asked her to come to Shin-ra amusement park in Gyeongju at 10 a.m. next Monday. She was very excited, how could she wait until next week? Seeing her excited appearance, Aunt Sumire couldn't help but ask, are you that happy? Of course, and Aunt Sumire, please make a type of business card for him to give to others as my manager. Business card? Yes, he will need it when he is still working with me, make it tomorrow and I will choose a cool design for him. The night fell and everyone went to sleep. In a luxurious apartment complex with high-end apartments, on the corridor, the cursing of a woman echoed. She hasn't even taught yet, what nonsense is this? Exactly what did he do when he became her manager? The boy next to her heard the scolding and was embarrassed. I'm sorry director, but Lee Ha-young told me absolutely not to wake her up. What's that? The director angrily banged on the door. Hey Lee Ha-young, get up and bring the keys out quickly. Inside the room, actress Lee Ha-young was drunk and collapsed on the bed, extremely annoyed by the noise. She was about to open her mouth to curse when she found out that the director had rushed in. Exactly how much did she drink? The film will start shooting the day after tomorrow. What does she think? Lee Ha-young tried to lift her head to look at her and yelled, "It's too noisy. Is she stupid? Does she know how much the chairman has invested in this film for her? Should she act more appropriately?" Lee Ha-young angrily retorted, "Who told him to invest like that? I've said that historical dramas are hard to act in." The director was helpless before the girl, so she signaled to the manager next to her that he should go to the hospital tomorrow to get medicine for her and make sure she takes them. He must supervise her exercise too. Hearing the words, "take medicine," Lee Ha-young suddenly panicked and interrupted loudly. I don't want to take medicine." The director coldly turned around and left. The film will start next week. If she doesn't take the medicine and calm down soon, she won't be able to act in this film. Alright, I also know that her acting skills are not worthy of the role, but just think it's a blessing. In front of the cold demeanor and harsh words of the director, Lee Ha-young shivered but couldn't retort anything. Then, the room door slammed shut, leaving her alone sitting collapsed on the bed, remembering the negative comments about her acting skills from netizens. Lee Ha-young had a headache and screamed, I want to end everything, everything. Today was the day the film crew started, so Ansamiro returned early in the morning. On their car running on the national highway.